The regular meeting of City Council with Committee of the Whole for Monday, December 19th to order. Before we get into the agenda, there was just something I'd like to do. Blair, who's been the CAO for the city for the last 3,000 years? Oh, 3 years. No, but we just wanted to recognize not only Blair as a CAO for the city, but to him and his wife Vicky for what they've done for our community. I've known Blair a long time, and Vicky and their family, and the one thing I've always admired about Blair is that no matter what, he's always trying to do what's right for our community and the citizens of our community. So I just wanted to recognize him, and this is his will be his last meeting with us. So yeah, got me in tears. I didn't go so hard. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is from Mayor, Council, and staff in the city. So just wanted to thank you and
Well, thank you. It's 30 years since I started back in 29, in case my math teacher's watching. Got elected in 1993 as a councillor, became the mayor in 1996 and again in 1999. Got the privilege of serving in the legislature as well for 12 years and couldn't stay away, so I came back to council, and a great opportunity arose when mayor and council of the day asked if I would be interested in the position of CAO. It's something that always interested me, and I jumped at the opportunity, and the community has been amazing to me and my family. And I say community, although we're members of the City of Dawson Creek Council, we serve the entire region and beyond. We grow, we live, and we die together up here, and it's the best place in the world, I think. And I couldn't have what I have without the City of Dawson Creek. So to all of you, I wish you well in your future. We've had a lot of hard work go on. There's always hard work as you move forward. There's going to be days, Mayor and Council, when you're going to shake your head and wonder why you're sitting where you're sitting. The days that are like that are few and far between, because you're here to make a change and a difference. And I know you have and you will. And for that, I and my family are grateful, and I can speak on behalf of the citizens of Dawson Creek. We're grateful for the work you do. It is a thankless job because, as I've told many people, your phone usually doesn't ring and say, I just want to tell you how good you're doing today. It's, usually the other way around. But you know that going into the job, so you don't do it for praise, you do it to make the community better, and I thank each and every one of you here today and the people that have served before me as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
all right, Darius.
Oh, do you want to take it?
Sure. Okay. Oh, you're getting a little fresh there, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, Blair. And then with Blair departing, another exciting thing with the city as well. So there was his replacement. There was a lot of time and effort that went in with the committee that was appointed by council to come up with his replacement. And our biggest thing for that it was about character. We wanted the right person. We wanted the right character in place. It wasn't about experience or anything else. And I think, I can speak for our council. That's what we're about, is we're about doing what's right and about people. So, we went through that process. It was a long process for us just getting in and elected. But, it was awarded to Kevin Henderson, who accepted it. So I just want to congratulate Kevin. So I wanted to congratulate Kevin, and we're really excited with Mayor and Council to work with Kevin moving forward and for the next 4 years. So congratulations, Kevin. You're welcome. All right, next we will get into the agenda. So 2 is delegation. So 2.1, we have Mr. Rob Brown, the managing editor of the Dawson Creek Mirror, in attendance to present the Dawson Creek Mirror 2022 People's Choices Awards. So I'll just have you come up here, Rob. And, before we get into these awards, these are some that are, city related, but we just wanted to give a thanks to all that spent the time to nominate people and all the people that were nominated and all the winners throughout our whole community. We live in a truly amazing community, so with a lot of amazing people. So, the mic is yours, Rob.
Certainly. Well, just despite what Blair said, I am here today to tell people how great they've done as far as the job. I don't know if you had an order or anything. You wanted
No.
Okay.
You can just...
Well, we'll just we'll get the photos out of the way. First, best city employee, Lisa Hawkins. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do an individual.
Okay.
Yeah. Wherever the camera is.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm stepping this.
Okay. Oh, you hold it then.
Yeah, he didn't win anything.
Wow, there's a lot more cameras with me and you.
And best city councilor, he bought a lot of steaks for me. Of course, you can buy steaks for me when it's for these. So, Jeremy Earl, thank you. Also kind of started in recreation. And we had tens of people vote for Jeremy.
Made it that far into it. So.
Congratulations.
And then I don't think there's anybody here to pick up this for the Rotary Rocking Trails, but they picked up, or the trail, picked up best walking and best biking trail. So it's a dual winner. So there you go. Our last award is for Best Civic Leader, and it's refreshing to see Dale Bumstead finally get some recognition for his role as the mayor.
Thank God for the 6 grandchildren voting.
I started in recreation too.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you.
And then he wasn't here because he's actually moved on, not passed on, just moved on. RCMP Officer Staff Sergeant Damon Burrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, I got to organize myself here. All right, the next order of business is 2.2 is the presentation of the City of Dawson Creek 2022 Community Awards. So I get all these exciting council meetings right off the get-go, so this is awesome. So the first one is the Entrepreneur of the Year. So this is it Rosalind? Rosalind? So I'll just read a brief description. So has created a business that benefits many children and families of Dawson Creek. She started out when her children were small by ordering a few pieces of gymnastics equipment. She has now created a space that offers gymnastics, ninja academy, childcare, preschool, and transportation for children to travel from school to the center. With the growth of the services she offers, she bought a building big enough to host all of the above, which was formerly a church. It's a beautiful space for children to learn and grow. I was super excited about this one because I haven't got the privilege to work a lot with you, but I've heard so much about you in the community. And when I was digging around a little bit to try and get some information, everybody spoke very highly of you and that you were just about doing what's right for the kids in the community. So it's a true honor to be able to give you this award. So congratulations. So. Take that out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll get a picture.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thought I had this all organized. Oh, here we go. So the next award, and then the Entrepreneur of the Year was sponsored by Community Futures. So I just want to give a thank you to them as well. So I might actually get you to come back up for a picture with Fran from Community Futures. So Fran really wanted to come up. She's like, yes, I got away with one, but. Sorry, I missed you on that. So yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next is Business of the Year, and this award, I'll start with this properly, is sponsored by the Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce, and we have Kathleen Connolly here representing the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, and thank you for sponsoring the award. This one, the winner for this year for 2022 is Kyle and Jillian McDonald from Tim Hortons. So I do have a bit of a write-up on them, but I've known Kyle and Jillian for a while, and they moved to Dawson Creek in, I think, around 2013, took over the Tim Hortons franchise. What they do in the community is amazing. They're always the first to sponsor everything. You see their names everywhere. But it's not only that, they're just real, genuine, true people, and they're about doing what's right for all the community groups in Dawson Creek. Their employees speak extremely highly of them. And I've got the pleasure, to spend the last couple of months with Kyle on council, and it's been amazing getting to know him. And I'm sure Jillian's not too happy how much he's on the phone with me, but I thank you for that too. So it is a true honor to recognize you two and to give you guys this award. So congratulations. So. Try not to get my fingerprints all over it, so congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Here, I'll hold on to it.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Yeah, I'd probably drop it.
I kind of figured I could trust you more, so. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Although you won't drop it. So the next award is the Inclusive Workplace of the Year. This one is sponsored by the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. So this is another one. I'll give a little description on Faking Sanity. Faking Sanity is a used bookstore, yarn shop, coffee, and tea shop that first opened in Dawson Creek in 2010. Feels like it's been longer than that.
In a good way.
Yeah, well, in a good way from me, but with a vision of being comfortable and welcoming place for all. Since opening, they have employed people from minority communities, including LGBTQ and those with mental and or physical challenges. They support the community in many ways, from donating books to seniors, knitting items for the Ukrainian refugees and those in cancer ward or hospice care, setting up a mitten tree for those on the streets, donating use of their space for the Indigenous Traditional Skills workshops, and organizing the 2021 Pride Walk in the community. And, I've had the pleasure of, growing up and going to school and knowing Lou and Cindy for a long time. And it's not only that stuff that you do in our community. You do so much for our community and always have. And I just know every time I've been in there, and you're always so welcoming and kind, and you're really about, that inclusive, not just the workplace, but as a community. So I look forward to the next 4 years in the future and building that relationship and really just that acceptance of, of everybody. So it's super exciting to be able to give you guys this award as well. So thank you and congratulations. So. And then is Amanda from community? Okay, sorry, Amanda. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Darcy. You're welcome. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations again. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Should we take the box?
Yes. There you go. All right. Oh, sorry. There was one more, before I move on to the next order of business, there is one more award, the Citizen of the Year. And that person is unable to attend until the second meeting in January, so we're just going to hold off announcing that person until then. So, but again, just wanted to thank all of you for everything you do in our community. And yeah, to the sponsors for the awards, it really means a lot to myself and to all of us. And yeah, just exciting. All three are, very much about community, and it's just amazing to be able to be part of that. So thank you. So.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hey.
I didn't want to ask you to leave, but no.
That will create the opening for the others.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So our next order of business is 2.3. We have Natasha, founder of Agro Connect, and and Fran. What's your title, Fran? The Economic Development Liaison for Community Futures in attendance. They have a request for a $5,000 core sponsorship from the City of Dawson Creek for the Agro Connect Conference and Market Beginning held February 10th and 11th, 2023 at the Ovintiv Center. So welcome, Fran and Natasha. I just got to get you... Oh, if you just push your button on there. Welcome on this nice frosty morning. So the floor
Thanks
is
for
all
having
yours.
us.
So, yeah, you're welcome.
I'm pretty sure she said push this one button.
Oh, okay. Just take a minute to get the presentation up. So I thought the presentation was just the picture of you two the whole time. So.
This is it. So thanks for having us come today and present and tell you a little bit more about Agro Connect. So Agro Connect is an inclusive agricultural platform for the North, and we're filling the need of the northern communities in strengthening our food security, sustainability, and stimulating our economic growth for the North. I'm going to make this super short and sweet. So there is a fair bit of information here that we gave you guys to give since Agro Connect is fairly new. We started this in May of this year, but it came from an idea that I had about four and a half years ago. And this December, I had Becky Weaver give me that push to get it going. And so we went to Community Futures and we partnered with them to be able to put on an agricultural conference and a market. And the idea behind the conference and the market is to, I'm going to flip the screen so that way. So the idea of the market is to create connections between our agricultural community and food producers with our public. So that would start to create economic growth within our communities and food sustainability. So many people right now, lettuce is a hot topic, and being the fact that it's $8 to $10 for 3 romaine hearts. So this is part of the problem. So if we are able to sustain our local food producers here, we wouldn't have problems with $10 lettuce. So when lettuce or your food is coming from local, you tend to not have the additional charges or impacts that it's having on the rest of our province or provinces. And what I started noticing when I started building out Agro Connect is we've been meeting so many local food producers that if I were to tell you that we have what it takes in the North, most people probably wouldn't believe that we are almost set up. So we have producers that are now set up with greenhouses to start producing local vegetables to our grocery stores. There's probably a few pieces in between that we're not quite there yet, but that is part of what AgroConnect is doing, is shortening that gap between the producer and the grocery stores. So we've met with some of the grocery stores about providing our local producers with space to sell, and everyone's been super excited about it. And then with the market, our goal is to do face-to-face interaction, let the producers start meeting the public, the general public, so that way they're knowing where they can purchase these items directly from the farmer and or get them into the grocery stores, which is most convenient for people. What do you want to mention?
I think the other piece is bringing in support systems for the farmers, the producers, and the community. So we have resources coming to the market as well, and we have a really broad network of people coming in, as well as really great keynote speakers that are informative, that will provide solutions. And the other really exciting piece for Community Futures is that we're doing peer panels. And peer panels are the people on the ground. These are people that are doing the work, that are in our communities, and they're going to tell their stories. So they're going to tell their story about agro-tourism, sustainable growing methods, and energy, and water. That's always a hot topic. But yeah, so we're just really excited to partner and to be part of the solution and not just sitting in the background.
So we've been able to get support throughout our region. Back in September, maybe. And so we have been able to grow sponsorship for our event, and I feel like we're fairly well backed right now, but we are hoping to have the Dawson Creek's backing on this event. It's not just the event, it's more about the bigger picture, and being able to have the city's backing on this is really important to me. So we currently have all-in backing right now from Saddle Hills County. It's actually pretty impressive. They have come completely on board, and they actually have blown me away of how much support they've given us. The co-op, Peace River Regional District, Farm Credit Canada, South Peace Mackenzie Trust has been also amazing. They've backed us financially to be able to put this, I'm going to call it more of a movement in place. So that's been fantastic. And then we've had, obviously, a lot of our local businesses, and the Northern Lights College has hopped on, which is also another big one, because the Northern Lights College and the Dawson Creek Co-op, they're incredibly community supportive, and they really want to see. Plus, they've done studies, and they have a background in what it is that we're doing, and they've helped us to push this forward. And then Community Futures has been instrumental to. This lady right here has been instrumental in getting us the funding and getting us the proposals to push this forward. I'm not a farmer. I don't grow things. I kill things. But I have all the other skill set of being able to pull people together, be able to network people together. And we've had some really amazing conversations and network buzz sessions in the beginning. And the transformation of those little 1 hour buzz sessions was incredibly cool to watch. So we were able to connect farmers together, and they've had problems. They chat with the other farmer across the table. They're able to find solutions right there and within that hour, able to network. We had NDIT come and be part of our bus session as well, and we were able to connect other farmers with them. And so it's been really interesting to watch everyone get really excited about it and get everyone on board, because I think Dawson Creek is ready. I think the North is ready to have more solutions when it comes to our food, and the ripple effect out is it's going to be huge for economic development when it comes to our north.
And the other thing is, we just didn't make this up. I mean, we heard about it. I heard it as Community Future staff for the last couple of years. But 5 or 6 years ago, the Peace River Regional District did a horticultural study, and Northern Lights did one just as COVID was coming. And all the indicators were, we need connection, we need to network, we need to talk to each other. And so we're just kind of following up on the recommendations from both of those reports, which were really well done and pretty in-depth. Although the Northern Lights one kind of went flat a bit during COVID, they're ready to get going. So they're not only sponsoring our breakfast, they're going to do a networking hour within the conference to talk about those issues that are concerning to farmers and producers and to consumers as well. So we're really excited that they stepped up and came on board.
And that's it. So thanks. Does anyone have questions for me?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, ladies. Councillor McDonald. Oh, sorry. Councillor McDonald.
Good morning. Welcome, guys. Just a couple of questions for me. Is AgroConnect going to be more than just this event? Is this going to be an annual event? Is this going to be ongoing support to our local producers, farmers?
Our whole vision is for this to be ongoing, as well as during the year we would like to do farm consumer tours. We'd also like to continue with our buzz sessions and talking to groups and bringing resources in to talk to groups. So this is just not a one-time thing. We'd like to do this for a very long time. And every year, the buzz sessions this year helped decide what our topics were. We didn't decide them. We threw out about 12 of them because we'd been hearing, about the different issues. So they decided, the group of producers and farmers decided what we were going to talk about at this conference. And so we know that there's lots more to talk about, and we know that there's lots of people who want us to continue to do this year after year.
Okay.
So the other thing too is, so we have a big picture plan. So this is the small, how do we get started and introduce ourselves to the North? So this is how we've chosen to kind of introduce, is to be able to have this event to get people engaged and to participate. And then we are currently working on our website. So our website is going to become the platform for agriculture in the North. So we will start having directories, community events when it comes to, our goal is not to be doing what anyone else is doing. Our goal is to become the platform, make all the connections for people, and put things into place to make things a lot more convenient. Because right now, for our producers, it's not convenient to get into the grocery stores. It's not convenient for them to do their marketing. These farmers, majority, I would say 90% of these farmers are working 1 to 2 jobs just to keep their farms running. And so by the time they're finished their jobs, come home, do their chores, to be able to market themselves, to be able to sell the products that they have is just, it's off the radar. So our goal is to come in, help with that, give them workshops. We have continued workshops that we want to be doing. So this is like the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. And I saw, sorry, may I keep going?
Yeah, you said you had a couple. Yeah. Go ahead.
I saw on your list of sponsors there, you have Indigenous Development as one of your sponsors. What other Indigenous involvement have you brought into your group, your proposal?
So one of our core values at Community Futures is to support Indigenous businesses. And so we went to Indigenous Business, and they've sponsored almost $10,000 to ensure Indigenous participation. So one of our keynote speakers is Indigenous, Tiffany Travers, who's from Aris. And then some of our panel speakers are Indigenous, as well as we're going to sponsor tables for them at the market if they can afford the table, and sponsor 10 tickets for conference participation.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I have a I have a number of questions. What is your budget?
Our total budget is $225,000.
And how much are you short of right now?
Probably about $25,000-$30,000.
Okay. Is your focus horticulture or is it totality of agriculture?
It's broad.
It's inclusive.
It's inclusive. Okay. So economic development. What is your what baseline data do you have to do some measures of growth and success?
So we have the two reports that we're starting with, just looking at who's here and who's not at the table. And as we bring people to the table and give them information, that's one of our baseline. We're also looking at talking more to producers and farmers to learn exactly what their business plans are. Maybe we need to support them with business plans if they want to. The other piece is just looking at the growth from this year to next year of maybe the number of producers. We already know that we've got a whole bunch of groups of people thinking about getting into the market or bringing things to market. We have some gals trying to put together a sea-can business where they're going to grow indoor vertical plants. We have another gal who's looking at growing mushrooms up here. Who would have thought? You know, so we have a lot of that kind of percolating, and we're supporting that. So I think that as we go on, our baseline is the two reports and what we know, and then find out, you know, continue to monitor and watch and support small businesses and farming and producers throughout the next year.
So just one last question. Those two reports you referenced, do they have any data on the economic, let's say the economic dimensions of agriculture in this area already? And does that serve as some baseline for
Yes.
measuring success?
Yes, that will serve as our baseline for measuring success, and both of them, the NLC one is more in depth, and the regional district one, it was done 5 years ago, so it's I don't think it's that much out of date, but I know just in the last 2 years that I've been doing this job, just seeing the growth in this sector is amazing, and just the ingenuity and just the creativeness of trying to meet the needs of the people in the community, because they all seen what happened during COVID, and they don't want, or during a flood. I mean, I used to work for the regional district. When the roads close, you don't get food. You know, when it's 30 below, the flights can't come in. So there's a whole bunch of kind of things that grow out of that we can be more sustainable in the north if we support these people.
I'm glad there is some data. I think data is very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
I can forward you both those reports.
There's no need. No
Okay.
need. Just want you to be successful, and I just believe data, as I said earlier, is very, very important.
I totally agree with you.
Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for coming to speak with us today. Just a question with respect to the structure, or the plans for content. Succession in the agriculture industry is a big issue. Is a lot of farmers are aging out of the program, and trying to get their kids or somebody else younger to step in and take up the work seems to be posing a considerable challenge. My wife works at a grain elevator in the industry, so she's pretty well acquainted with the challenges they have. Any plans around that as far as content?
Succession was an issue during the buzz sessions, and unfortunately water won out over succession. But that is something that we will continue to try to address, and that might be through our quarterly workshops. It might be through bringing in people to talk about it. It might be at our next conference. So it is top of mind. It was pretty close to the top of the list, but they really want to know what the water regulations and the rules are. So that's what went out.
The other thing too is we've also partnered up with many other resources like Young Aguarians. So Young Aguarians have programs right now currently in place that work with the Land Match program. So that's actually something that is being done in our current community of Dawson Creek, is they partner up and a farmer who is retiring and on his way out with a new farmer who's interested in learning and becoming a farmer or into agriculture. So that is programs that are already currently in place. Yeah, there are many people who are unaware of all these programs that are offered. So that's part of our education portion, is letting people know of the programs that are in place too.
Cool. Just one last question. Have you managed to secure any representatives from the Agricultural Land Reserve to come speak with you guys?
No.
No? Oh.
No. We've invited them, we've reached out to them, and we will continue to try to do that. The regional district is going to put a good word in for us as well. So.
Okay. Well, best of luck. I think they're
yeah, thank you.
an important part of the conversation that we don't always get to talk to. But thank you guys once again for coming to see us.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning. Thank you for coming. I just want to know, since I think Ms. Natasha mentioned about education, is this there's a tie-up in the Northern Lights College about informing or educating about agriculture?
There is. So they do have an agricultural program, and they actually do have an agricultural land here in our area as well. And I feel like they are also putting a lot more spotlight on their agriculture, especially with their local rodeo that they did recently. And they are also really wanting to get involved with us, and they've given us their buy-in and want to help in any way.
They were first to the table.
Yeah.
The reason I ask, because of course education is very important, especially especially most people are going to modernize. So at least agriculture is very important, especially, for example, coming from a price-producing country, we need a lot of lands to produce those kind of items or produce. And how about like the distribution now of the land? Like, for example, modernization and of course agriculture. So how's the land ratio now? Or
I'm not sure that I can answer that question.
Okay.
I don't know what the ratio is, but we do have a high ratio of agricultural land up here.
That's good to hear.
In the land reserves. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? No? All right, I had one, I guess. I just wanted to thank both of you for coming in and for the presentation. The conference itself, how many people do you have signed up for it already? And is there a maximum number for it?
Yeah, so we're 67 in, and we're 225 as our, Judy said she could possibly fit in another table if we need, but we're about 225 is where we max out.
Okay. And will most of them be from this area, or does it attract people from?
So right now we have people as far as Fort Nelson and then the Saddle Hills area, the Grand Prairie area, but the bulk, I believe, is going to be coming from Dawson, Fort St. John, Chetwynd, Hudson's Hope, Tumbler area. I really believe it's going to be a little bit closer to home, but we do have people that have committed to come from Fort Nelson as well.
Cool. Thank you.
As well as we're going to be doing a big push in January.
Yeah.
For the sales. We didn't want to do too far out. It just didn't seem to make sense.
We might be known to be last minute up here too, so that's good to have that number already. And it's exciting to see this come. Like, I know in agriculture there's some challenges, and I know there's lots of new innovative and new ways that all the producers are looking at in the province and federally. So it's just nice to see and have both of you take this on and bring it to Dawson Creek, because it's just nice to see something positive in our area. And agriculture is a huge part of our success in Dawson Creek, and it's been part of our our backbone of an economic driver for as long as I've been here. So it's just really nice to see this. So I just wanted to thank both of you for the time you've put into this, and I know it's getting anything started from scratch is a lot of effort. So definitely appreciate it, and and it's very yeah, it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to the event. So. Yeah, and then, so what happens next is this just gets brought back later on today under mayor's business. So once we've dealt with that, then we'll let you know what the decision is of mayor and council. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for coming in, and enjoy your day and stay warm. All right, our next we have 3 late items. Is there any late items? No late items. Next 4, we have new councillor business. 4.1, we have a memo from Councillor Parslow, reason the 2023 budget covered outdoor rink. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, at the last meeting we were invited if we had some amendments to the budget to have them before council at this meeting, so I have several here. So I have a motion here that the outdoor covered rink budget be removed and replaced by an outdoor mister spray, and I'm going to put the word facility rather than rink.
Thank you,
I'd like to speak to that motion if there's a second.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, I'm not speaking against a covered rink, but I think the priorities of the community, as I've heard it loud and clear over the years, since the Rotary Lake was closed as a result of Northern Health, is that we need to have some replacement that is a water attraction in the community, that I have responded to the countless requests that have come to my attention that a lake is not on the tables because of the Northern Health issues. An outdoor swimming pool is cost prohibitive, and we have a very fine indoor facility which is very costly to operate, but it's a jewel in our community that is sufficient for that. People want something for the summer that they can recreate at. They appreciated the lake because it was free. They could picnic there. It was a good family gathering, and we know that people come here from the region because of that. So I really think that a priority is to have something in our community that is a water attraction, somewhat like Fort St. John has or Grand Prairie, that is equal to or possibly better than what they have. And I think with I always remember the fire department when they was it the heat dome? Is that what it was called? Or that anyway? That very hot weather got their spray out, and there was. I thought that was just wonderful. But there is a real need for something in the summer that is free for the general public and is a good family gathering place. I didn't say where it was to be located. I think there would need to be, if council was to approve this significant involvement with the Mile Zero Park Society, you need to look at something that is multi-age, maybe a young children's one, a teenage one, and there should be community engagement as to the location. I think there is some discussion about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Any other discussion? Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I appreciate Councillor Parslow's sentiment. I think between those two things, finding a no cost to families water amenity probably should take priority. I don't disagree on that. My one issue, I guess, is so last year we approved capital to decommission and remediate the former location of Rotary Lake as stage 1 of that plan. I know we got a year or so back, some work done by Urban Systems that was maybe a bit over the top for what we were looking for, but it did provide us with some, I think, useful information around how we can move forward with that project, even if we don't necessarily use every aspect. And I wonder if it would be worthwhile to have, since we've got a new council sitting, for them to have access to that report so that they have an idea of some of the work that's already gone on, whether or not we're actually going to pursue it. And then to Councillor Parslow's point, just trying to make sure my concern is that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, or we're going to end up tripping over ourselves because we're confusing two initiatives which don't necessarily need to be conflicting depending upon where the water amenity goes, and depending upon, because if my memory serves correct, and this budget book does, the outdoor rink was intended to be kind of centrally located downtown where the former Centennial Pool was, correct?
Yes.
That is correct, Your Worship.
And that was floated, and that was also floated as a possible location for a new water amenity should we opt not to build out the existing splash area down at Rotary Park.
Yeah, there's been discussion, nothing firmed up as far as a location when it comes to the spray park. The discussion on the outdoor covered rink, and I just want to point, it would be more than a rink, just although it is really a central plaza for farmers markets, summer use as well, just for clarity. But the location for that, what is presented in the capital budget book today, was thought to be the old skating rink site. That way you would find some, ability with our arenas there and so on, should we need that type of assistance as well. And then for the motion, should this motion pass, and what I've heard is say both of these are valuable assets to the city, it's a choice in time as to when we build each of these. A location and discussion through council would be necessary to say, look, bring us a report on this location or that location. Obviously, water availability, different things are going to be part of that discussion. But both are valuable assets, I think, to the community for sure.
So I just wanted to kind of state some questions and thoughts and concerns I had around that. Like I said, I appreciate Councillor Parslow's motion. I'm just not sure these two initiatives, until we have more discussion, whether they're actually in conflict with one another. And if I recall correctly, we don't have any capital set aside for specific to Rotary. So I guess in that sense they are in conflict. But as so far as there's only so much money to go around. Anyway, that's turn the floor over, Your Worship.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Hill.
Your Worship, just for clarity, if I could, through to council, it would be my understanding of this motion, should it pass, that the budget allocated within the capital budget under our draft one budget would be reallocated from the existing outdoor plaza that we're talking about, arena, to pursuing a misting park for the city of Dawson Creek. That's my interpretation of
that. Was mine as well. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you, Blair. I'm just going to go to Councillor McDonald next. Councillor Parsley, just because he hasn't spoke yet, and then we'll go. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, further to what's been said, I agree. Both of these are going to be valuable assets to providing service to our community. But I truly believe that we don't need to cancel the outdoor arena, which, as you know, Mr. Lekstrom pointed out, is going to be a 365-day-a-year asset to the community that can be used as a rink, as an outdoor meeting space, and continue to bring that downtown, bring people to the downtown core where we're developing the new pickleball courses or courts. We have redevelopment on the disc golf. We have development on an outdoor arena. It starts bringing everybody down to a central area to participate, meet, families gather. And I don't think we need to not do that in lieu of a water park that'll only be valuable to our citizens 3 to 4 months of the year. I believe that this is a good asset and a good project for the community to move forward with, and I would not support canceling the outdoor rink just to divert the money to the Mister Park right now.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, just some more information that I think I should have stated. The existing flow-through park cannot continue as it is. The total cost of water to the city just last year was $108,000. We need to change that. We need to have a MISTER system rather than what we have. A MISTER system would be 20% of the usage of water. And the other factor is that it costs the Mile Zero Park, they have to staff that existing water park. Alex is here, he can tell you, but he gave me a figure, it's $450 a day for half the year. So it's prohibitively costly and needs to be replaced. We have 3 outdoor hockey rinks already in this community. As a superintendent of schools, I remember the incredible cost it was of maintaining those, and a number of them have been closed. So I think that there's adequate provision of outdoor skating right now. But the existing Mister Park is really suitable for very young kids, and it's very costly to operate and can't continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Any other comments? Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, for clarification, where are these 3 outdoor rinks that are being used annually?
I can
Do we know?
speak on that behalf. Locally in town, there's Mountain Christian School, I think, is a private one that's closed in, and the Arc also has one. But they maintain those. I know there's rural ones too. I know of at least 3 rural ones. And I know that we have a letter in, that we're dealing with today on another local one that residents are looking at, reactivating that. So, yeah. I don't think I missed any, did I? Councillor Parslow?
No, the Mountain Christian one is open to the public. That's my understanding. And the Canalta one is, as you say, we've got that on our agenda already.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's 2 north of town, 1 south of town.
Thank you. There's another question. I have a couple around this. So I guess where I stand from is I'm complete support of doing what we need for our community, and something that's there for families, that's affordable. A couple things. One, when I try to look at like an outdoor summer facility, water, we don't get a lot of nice days here where it'll get used. So I'm trying to think of what do we do which is best for our community. And just a quick example of something that I've done in the past, but I'm in my other life before this one, we have patios that we use. So we've done tests to see how often they get used, and it's on average 37 days a year that our patio gets used. So that shows how many days we get to use something. So I'm not against a spray park or a water facility, but I think we got to look at the bigger picture of it and what is best for our community as a whole. The other is I like being different and unique and thinking outside the box a little bit. And if other communities around us, like Fort St. John has an amazing spray park, and, there's some other communities within an hour that have amazing outdoor water pools. We have an amazing indoor water pool that we're, looking to get back to in full service. My thoughts is that we look at something that's different and unique to us that will bring people from other communities to Dawson Creek, which helps our, community grow as a whole. And I look at, Fort St. John does have a great water park, and people travel there. And there's some outdoor water pools that people from Dawson travel to, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if we can create something here that brings, outside residents here, and we build this as a community, I think that's more where I kind of look at when I'm deciding on these and giving my opinion. The other is we have a pretty advanced Parks and Rec master plan that's been put forward. Which hasn't been, brought out yet, and it hasn't been, adopted. But it's tough to make these decisions without knowing the bigger picture of where we're at. So my thoughts is we keep this fund available in capital expense for 2023, but maybe we don't make a decision today on what that fund is for until we have a little bit more information. But that's just my 2 cents on it. So Blair?
Your Worship, possibly just to follow through, and you mentioned it when you were talking there, we have a Parks Recreation Master Plan coming forward to yourselves. I believe it's the second meeting in January. It was put forward and supported by the previous council. That work was undertaken. It was thought that it was best presented to the incoming council versus the outgoing council. So if there's a wish on a decision like this, which would be a recreation-related item, as I see it, a deferral before a vote is taken either way, for or against the motion on the floor, may be in order until you review that Parks Recreation Master Plan, where the community was engaged, a number of people had put forward ideas. So I just throw that out versus making a decision today. If you're not prepared to make that decision, it may be important to defer this decision until after you see the Parks Recreation Master Plan. That's a decision for yourselves, but one that I want to make sure is out there for consideration.
Thank you, Blair. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you. I would like to have a look at that recreation master plan, but as far as this facility downtown being more than just a covered ice facility, this is a year-round, centrally located facility, which is going to be a multi-use facility. And if it's something we can look at, a year or two down the road to add a water feature to, whether they are just misters, I think the opportunities for this supersedes just a simple Mister Park. So I like the idea of it downtown.
Thank you, Councillor Sudnick. I think to add a little bit to that too, I've talked to Blair a little bit about the plan on this, and it is it's not just a covered skating rink. Just to clarify, it's something that could be used for skating in the winter months, but also that it could be used for a gathering place to bring our community together in the summer, whether it's, the multicultural events or it's trade shows or it's, farmers markets weekly. There could be a lot of different uses for it. So, just wanted to clarify that as well for those that are listening. So, I don't know if there's no more questions. We can bring this motion to vote. So I'm just going to have the motion read back just so we're clear on what we're voting on. Which I can do that. So the motion on the floor is that the outdoor covered rink budget be removed and be replaced by an outdoor Mister spray rink. So is everybody clear on the motion on the floor? Okay, I'm going to call the question to vote. The vote is closed. And it's denied. Next on the agenda is 4.2. Sorry. Not there. Memo from Councillor Parslow raising 2023 budget. Flood mitigation.
Move that the 500,000 flood mitigation allocation be applied to establish a ladder truck reserve for the replacement of the existing truck operated by the Dawson Creek Fire Department for the 2023, 2024 and 2025 fiscal years.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Or Councillor Sudnick? Sorry, I don't know if Councillor Parslow, I might just get you to repeat the motion because I don't think you were lit up. Or was he? No, the mic wasn't on, so.
Okay, that the 500,000 flood mitigation allocation be applied to establish a ladder truck reserve for the replacement of the existing truck operated by the Dawson Creek Fire Department for the 2023, 2024 and 2025 fiscal years.
And that was seconded by Councillor Sudnick. And I guess the mic was on, so I just actually wanted to hear your voice, Councillor Parslow, so thank you.
If I could speak to the motion?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
So it's just a bit of history. When we've had the last, I think it was the last major flood event in the community, it was clear that flood mitigation had to be a top priority for council, and council endorsed that. And we set aside a reserve fund so that we would have some capital reserve to be able to implement all the recommendations that came out of the study done by Edgewater, I think that was the name of the company, doesn't matter. It was a requirement for us to be eligible for provincial funding that we had update flood mapping and a mitigation plan. And so we managed to set aside 500,000 and had money to pay for a lot of that. Since that time, we've had the completion of 8th Street. We had insurance cover the 15th Street issue, and we got federal funding for the 102nd Avenue bridge. And we do have some money in the flood mitigation funding. It seemed to me we didn't need to add to that money. We have some. We have not yet received a policy that I know that Chelsea is working on to deal with some other issues with flood mitigation, but we do, in my judgment, have sufficient money in reserve. What that flood mitigation fund does illustrate is it's very important for council when you know you have some upcoming expenditures to set aside money incrementally. And I think this replacement of this ladder truck, which is going to come about in a few years' time, is a classic example. We should save up for that rather than it just become something we have to fund from one budget year. So I propose that we vary this flood mitigation allocation for 3 years, 2023, 2024, and 2025, to establish a reserve for the replacement of that truck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Blair, may I just, before we go to more councillors, could you just give us a little bit on this? So I'm assuming flood mitigation is funds that we put away to help with flood mitigation. If we actually, the city experiences a flood and there's costs that come with that, that doesn't come out of this, right? This is just...
Yeah, through your worship. This was a planning tool that council put forward a number of years ago at $500,000 per year for the need, if we needed to replace 102nd Avenue Bridge, for example, which we did. Money from that fund would have been utilized, and it wouldn't have been enough to cover the bridge. We were very fortunate to get the capital grant from the federal government. So it was intended for that. If we needed to look at the bridge on 17th Street, for example, to replace that, although there you would have a bridge going over flooded land because the land is what it is. It's low. So the ability, there's $1.5 million in this reserve right now, the flood mitigation reserve. In the budget that you're looking at under first draft, there's an additional $500,000 to go into it. Councillor Parslow is saying defer that, and I would rather put the capital towards a replacement of the ladder truck, which we have extended the life already of this ladder truck, and our firefighters do a great job with it, but it is in need of replacement over the next 3 to 5 years for sure. And there is no savings account yet put forward for that. So.
Thank you, Blair. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. A couple of questions. Do we have an actual estimate on the cost to replace that ladder truck?
Through your worship, in discussing it with our chief and deputy chief, it is going to range between 1.5, 2.2 million. It really depends. It's about a 2 to 3 year build, though. So
right.
For us to need a truck in 2 to 3 years, we're going to probably, should this motion go through, even if it doesn't, we're going to begin a planning process in 2023. It's not as simple as going to buy a truck. I've learned a great deal about fire trucks. They build them for your community based on the needs of the firefighters. But $2 million mark, it would be a round number, but probably relatively close.
Okay. Excuse me. And when previous council established creating the fund for flood mitigation, did we have an end goal? Were we going to build an account to 5 million? Were we going to build an account to 4 million and let it grow? We were just annually putting 500 aside?
Through your worship, yeah, there was no end goal in the sense of 500,000 a year until we get to here. A retention pond, an upstream retention pond, for example, would eat up probably many millions of dollars
right.
in order to do that. So it was felt that if that was the end goal, we would be contributing to the fund for some time. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you to so, I'm interested. How fire trucks are not covered off in the equipment replacement pool at all? Like they're not. I know. We've got the equipment replacement funds for a reason. Is a ladder truck not a part of that?
There is within our equipment pool funding. We would reach into that, but that's where virtually this funding we're talking about would be allocated, but dedicated to the fire truck. We have nowhere near the funds needed in order to replace a $2 million fire truck. As we go through all of our other, it's both heavy equipment, our light trucks, our fleet, and so on. So
I know our contribution to it is kind of based on the hours used. So is it just a matter of ladder truck? Hopefully it's something you rarely have to use, and as a result, it's not something that you contribute to often if used. Or
I believe they look for a 20-year turnaround on these vehicles, and I might be high on that. Some do it sooner. We have extended the life of our ladder truck through a rebuild of the ladder and the arms, for example. Okay. I'm aware of that. That was 2 years ago. We spent money on that. But others are based on much of our fleet, not much, but a number of our fleet, if you look at them, especially with the supply chain issues we've faced over the last couple of years, have aged out. We have trucks from 2010, for example, and Kevin would be better to speak to this, that are well past their date of replacement. So we're very fortunate. We have strong mechanics that keep our fleet going, but the services we deliver on behalf of the residents and yourselves are dependent on a strong fleet, whether that's our graders right down to our pickup trucks. So,
thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you, Councillor Earl. Is there any other discussion? Councillor McDonald.
Sorry, just out of curiosity, what happens to the old ladder truck? Is that something we can sell as a used unit to another community, to the airport, anything like that?
We can. It would be up to council as to where they want to take this truck or what they would like to do with it, whether it's sell it to another most other communities, certainly our size that are requiring a ladder truck, are going to be bound by the same. Would they purchase a 20 or 20-plus year old ladder truck? It may go possibly to a volunteer department. There are options. I don't think it's, when you look at these trucks, they're well looked after. So I think there is room that there could find a utilization for this ladder truck somewhere, whether it's in the region or outside.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Apollonio.
Hello, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to ask, since 500,000 is a big amount, how about, is it feasible that to split the amount to flood mitigation and then the fire truck? Is that feasible or much wiser or no?
So if I understand through your worship the question, would it be feasible to put 250 towards truck 250 toward? We can execute anything on behalf of yourselves as a body on that. I would, at this point, as your CAO, concur with Councillor Parslow. I think the flood mitigation reserve is fine where it's at. And the motion to move the 500,000 to the ladder truck replacement is something I wholeheartedly support as your Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. All right, any other discussion? No? Everybody's clear on the motion? Yeah, okay, I'll put this motion to vote. The vote is closed. It's carried. I'm just going to take a 5-minute recess. I'd like to call our regular meeting of council with Committee of the Whole back to order for Monday, December 19th. Our next item on the agenda is 4.3, a memo from Councillor Parslow, reason hiring of a communications manager. Councillor,
My microphone is on.
Councillor Parslow.
See that?
Yours. I just turned it green.
I make the motion, I'll speak to it if it's seconded, that a manager of communications/community relations and economic development be hired no later than January the 30th, 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Okay, a second, Councillor Kemp.
If I can just say a few words about this.
Yes, we'll let you, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Parslow.
There will be more than a few, perhaps, if you keep it up.
Did you say a few minutes or a few questions? I was going to set the time.
No, there's a lot to say here. So first of all, the organisation review, which I have mixed feelings about as a total, but did talk about the need for a communications manager. And so that is partially reflected in this motion. It's also clear that the Mayor wishes to have a senior staff person to give heightened focus on economic development and to build community relations. So it's natural that this manager would work closely with the Mayor in some components of this work. Last week, a majority of council were able to go to the Doid River First Nation. And I think that just illustrates something that we need to give focus to, which is building partnerships with our First Nations neighbors. Not so long ago, I went to the opening of the Urban Reserve, which is a misnomer really, in Fort St. John. It's a good location downtown, and then we learned that the Doid River has bought a similar land in Dawson Creek. And we learned that the potential, it looks like a possibility for both of those pieces of land, $100 million of capital investment here in Dawson Creek. We also know that there's a need for work in the area of reconciliation and development of relations with various First Nations communities. And so I'm just highlighting that because in this proposal, community relations is part of that. And we know that former Mayor Bumstead is working in that area. We know also there's interest from West Moberly of having a similar meeting that we had with the Doid River. We know that the Soto is also interested, and interested in development, as so on. So we really need to focus on that component. And, you know, $100 million of potential investment on that property bought by the Doid River is serious economic development. And so the whole thing, you know, links together in a kind of exciting package. As I sent out to council members two pieces of material. One I got from the regional district. I attended the regional district meeting, the last one, I believe, and it was really a presentation on cultural safety. This work has been going on with the regional district for some time. This program that the regional district is following through with is highly supported by Treaty 8 and all the members of Treaty 8, and is just an example of a local government building an understanding and a partnership with First Nations people. So there's a big education piece there that I think we might want to think about. When I attended UBCM in September with Councillor Kempf, and there was another councillor, so he's sitting next to you, Councillor Earl, yeah. I attended a session on the calls for action for local government as it relates to the TRC, the commission that was formed. Some of those, I think, are some things we need to reflect on. So I'm saying this is a big piece of work, and I think it meets some of the desires that I think we all share of building bridges. And we learned that the Doid River referred to the former mayor as One Bridge Bumpstead, wasn't it?
Dale One Bridge. That name might have been created at that meeting. So.
It might have been created at the meeting. Anyway, that's all I'll say for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Parslow. You said that's all you're going to say.
I'm not saying anything about it. You can carry the rest.
Councillor Earl. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'll support the motion. I do. I recall the recommendation from the organizational review, and it's one I agreed with certainly over the last couple of years, and how. I mean, the communications piece, the economic development piece is a bit more nebulous to me. In every community I've ever seen the economic development officer role, it seems to manifest itself differently. And if we don't get some hard metrics and expectations around it, I think it has a potential to turn into a bit of a dog's breakfast. But I think given the work I would like to pursue over the next 4 years with council, be it downtown revitalization, be it many of the things we've got coming, in addition to many of the challenges we've faced during public emergencies over the last few years in having to try and compete with a whole slew of online misinformation, and somebody doing that as a part-time kind of off the side of their desk role. It makes sense that we build out this capacity within the city, and I'll support it for that reason.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? No, I just had a few. Oh, Kevin?
So through your worship, just should this motion pass, I noticed that the date was the end of January to have a person hired. Obviously, we can't guarantee that someone would be hired, but we can certainly guarantee that we're well with, down the road of the process. I would envision that we would develop some terms of reference or job description, work with yourself to ensure that it's capturing the essence of what you're envisioning for that position, because it works obviously quite closely with you. If so, then we could have that out, posted, and see if we're able to recruit somebody. But I just wanted to make clear that we could, just can't guarantee, obviously, we'd have somebody in place by
that date, yeah. Yeah, with the holidays and everything, it'll be tight, but yeah, I think. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. And then just for me to touch a little bit, just because, in the background information, I'm brought into that a little bit, just to follow up a little bit of my discussion I've had with Councillor Parslow and most council. My goal is, and council's goal is to build our community relations within our community, and without, and when I say community, I just don't mean Dawson Creek. I mean the Peace region, our community as a whole. So, we believe having this extra person dedicated to that will really allow us to move forward and and get to those next stages and levels and work closely with myself and and getting there. So okay, if there's no other discussion, I will I don't think, do we need to change the date on that, Kevin, or I guess when it comes closer to that date, if we're doing okay, perfect. Okay. Everybody's clear on the motion, the floor? All right, I'll call the motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 4.4. We have a memo from Councillor McDonald, reason the city positions. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. My motion I'm bringing forward today is that the Chief Administration Officer provide a report to Council justifying the need for the proposed positions of Building Bylaw Officer, Senior Planner, and Facility Supervisor. A little background information.
Just one sec, Councillor. I'll just wait for a second. A second, please. Councillor Kemp. Councillor McDonald.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Little background information why I brought this forward. In our proposed financial plan draft 1, these additional staff and management positions are going to be at a cost to the city of $224,467 for 2 part-time and 1 full-time positions. The one that really jumped out to me was the bylaw officer, because also in the draft, building permits, plumbing permits, all the building inspections and the licenses are all down. So for us to need another position for that when the applications are actually down, just raised a flag to me. And if I was going to inquire about one, I thought inquiring about all 3 would be the best.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Kevin?
Yeah, so thank you. Through Your Worship, I'll just touch on the senior planner position first. So this position is not a new position, just so we're clear. This is a position we've had for a number of years. It's just vacant. And the challenge that we have had with the senior planner position is recruiting, and that's been something that's all over the province. What we have done in the 23 budget is adjusted the wage again as part of that recruitment, because what we're finding is these positions across the province are the wages seem to be growing exponentially. Recently there was a position posted in the Lower Mainland that was in excess of $60 an hour for a planner. It's crazy compared to the high 30s that we were paying. So we've adjusted the wage that's in there. So I just wanted to be clear, that's not a new position, but there was a little bit of money added to it to try. And again, we'll be going down the recruitment on that one, see if we can find somebody. We are looking at all options on that, as well as even looking at possibly getting a junior planner, a less expensive one, and then offering a mentor, possibly, some combination thereof. So we'll keep working on that. The building bylaw officer position. So on that, we currently have 1 building inspector. Traditionally, we've had 2 in the past. When we lost a couple of staff and we're going through the replacement, we only replaced with 1 building inspector because it was at a time when the economy had dipped down and things were slow here. So we took advantage of that. And so rather than replacing with another one, we didn't need it. We just got 1. And so we've carried that 1 position for a period of time. And what we're seeing now is that my manager of the department is also qualified building inspector. So that individual is having to pick up some of the additional permitting and inspection issues on top of that. as well as being down a planner position, that individual is having to pick up the planning side. So that individual's wearing 3 hats on any given day to some degree. So just a few stats on the building side. Although our anticipated revenues may be low, we always are conservative on our projections for revenues. We'd much rather outstrip that than be overly optimistic and come in low. We've seen a 60% increase in the number of building permits over the last year. And construction in 21 was 6.35 million. In 2022 is 9.5 million. So we've seen an increase there as well. And really all we're doing with this is trying to, one, take a bit of a load off the existing staff, and two, to ensure that we maintain the same level of service that the construction community is used to. So if we don't get the position on the building side and it gets busier, that just means the level of service may start to become a bit of a challenge for us, and that'll extend the turnaround time for permits and whatnot, which in our environment with a short building season, we want to try and be as responsive as we can. The bylaw officer position that we were kind of lumping this in, as it was one person, but with kind of split duties. We've just seen an increase in bylaw with the type of incidents and investigations that we're conducting over the last year or two. The things that are happening in the community are a little bit different and requiring us to respond in different ways. And so we thought that might be an opportunity to try and, augment that as well. So any questions on that?
Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Parslow.
The bylaw, I'm just making a comment that we received a proposed budget from the SPCA last meeting, which I think was just flabbergasting to most of us. And we're looking at options there. One option could be taking the dog catching role and making that something that we do through a bylaw officer. So that whole issue is up in the air right now, is it not?
Yeah, so through your worship, we are going to bring a report back to council with options on the SPCA contract, which, some of those options will have implications to staffing in our goals of first meeting in January.
Can I just speak to the planner position? So, one of the things that I'm sure the city has done this, but in my former role, I had great difficulty filling certain positions, such as, let's say, a teacher for the hearing impaired. It was a good practice if you could identify someone who maybe had some basic training and enter into a contract with them whereby their training to become a senior planner was funded by the city in return for some conditions, read so many years of service after training to the city. Now I'm showing my ignorance, but I don't mind showing my ignorance here. Is such a scheme been tried by the city in the past, and if not, could it be considered? Because I also went to a session at UBCM about the challenge of recruiting for municipalities, and there was some wonderful data there. We showed, the number of people retiring, the number of positions that are going to come, new positions as well, and there's a wide gap. So recruiting is going to become harder and harder. So it might be in our interest to, we do know on a small scale, what was done with Aubert and the Aquatic Centre, for lifeguards. Some STEAM, I'm not familiar with the STEAM, but in principle, there was some incentives there. So maybe with human resources, we need to look at training our own.
Yeah.
and supporting that training?
So through your worship, we've definitely gone down the road of working with current employees to further their education, and some of them have got their masters while working here. The planning position is typically a master's position. Usually you're looking for someone that's got a 4-year undergrad. That's the challenge. We've talked to a few of our staff about that maybe have those degrees, but it's a commitment. They weren't particularly interested in the position, but we would have to have somebody in staff that has the at least some of those qualifications, a degree, and then could go down that path, and we'd certainly it would be an option for us.
Thanks, Kevin. Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, Kevin, just for clarification, you said building permits and inspections were up 60%. Can you say from when? Because I'm just looking at, our budget report here, in comparison to 2020 to, 2021, and now we've had a little growth in 2022, but even for 2022, we are only at 60% of what we were in 2020. Rounding the numbers of 139 in 2020 to 85 this year.
Yes, so through your worship, the increases from 21 to 22, I mean, if you look at 22 and 21, we're definitely down from previous years. We're still at the bottom of the curve. We're nowhere near where we were in, say, 2014 or 2015. And then it started to drop off in 16 and has been going down. Then you get into COVID and that. But the number of permits have gone up over the last year from about 70 permits to about 112 permits. That's what we have for our numbers. So we're seeing, I guess the message is we're starting to see an uptick in that. And, we're hopeful that trend continues. We've had only a few single family dwellings built over the last few years. But if we go back a few years, I mean, the trend tells us we're going to see, 20 or 30 of them built, plus multifamilies, plus, those apartments. So we're nowhere near that now, but we anticipate that to start to climb.
Within the 12 months.
Start to see things improve, yes.
Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, through staff. How much of this anticipation is informed by the impending hospital construction and the associated, there'll have to be an increase in residential to accommodate the workforce coming in just for that project. Is this informed by that, or is that kind of?
So through Your Worship, there's a couple points. Obviously, like I said, we're down at the bottom of the curve. We believe we're starting to see things uptick. We also know of some of those developments that, like you say, the hospital is occurring. We're also working with a developer that is looking at developing land directly to do with that hospital development. If that was to occur, don't know if it will, but if it was, that's going to be specifically residential development as well. So, I mean, we have no crystal ball. That's for sure. But also, like I said, it's part of a response to try and help with the workload that I'm seeing one of my managers, wearing 3 hats. And so I'm trying to offset that a bit as well.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parts, what did you have? You were lit up for a minute there.
Just wanted to add to what I said to Kevin. The key is for this incentive and training people is people who are committed to this community, who are not then going to get qualified and then after 5 years of service leave, right? I mean, that's the important ingredient. But another point about these officers here, these staff, is there's this whole new regime of building code stuff, that's been, it's different steps for being. And that must generate an awful lot more work for existing staff, learning that stuff and applying it.
Yeah, the BC STEP code.
Yeah. And now I'm assuming all council members are aware of all that stuff, right? Are they? I'm just wondering if they understand what we're talking about with STEP codes.
So through your worship, I mean, I can give a very high level thing. The province is coming in with, and my understanding now is they may have pushed that back a little bit, which is good. But it's basically it's called the BC Step Code, and as Councillor Parslow indicated, there's multiple steps, and it all deals with energy efficiency, and everything from existing construction up to and including, where it's, essentially net zero, and there's a bunch and in between. And so there's an incredible amount of education and work that we would need to do with the construction community because it is a change. And so you're right, there would be some work to that. We've already started some of that work. We met last year with a number of folks in the construction community about it, but it would be ongoing.
Thanks, Kevin. Shante, did you want to? Oh.
Sorry, that's my fault.
That's all right.
Through your worship, I'll talk about the facility supervisor. We discussed about that in this memo from Councillor McDonald. I spoke a little bit about it last meeting. So the facility supervisor is about $78,000. We have 77 buildings within the city of Dawson Creek that we maintain. And we have right now 70 work orders that have not been touched. Within those 3 staff that are working, the idea to have the facility supervisor is that person would be like the day-to-day supervisor with them, as well as working within those facilities, make sure they're scheduling, because right now our manager is doing that and she has a very large workload, and it's to do with also asset management. We're working with that, and the buildings are average about 43 years of age, and so we are wanting to make sure that we maintain them. Things at the top priority right now are special one-time requests, and the second one is scheduled maintenance, and scheduled maintenance should be number 1. We do administration. Part of that is following the purchasing policy, which anything over $500 we have to get 3 quotes. So you can imagine the workload that we have to do to get those quotes with that from businesses, as well as inspections. We maintain monthly inspections within those facilities. All 77 facilities need to be checked out. Within there is emergency repairs, meetings, capital, and then education and training. So one of the things is that will improve. We're averaging about 13 work orders a month, depending how large those work orders are. So this would be to increase and maintain our buildings. And that's why we'd like to put this position in place, is to make sure we look after our assets. It's important.
Thanks, Shante. Blair?
Your worship, just the one thing, and Shante touched on it, it's somewhat misleading. Facility supervisor, we have, I find it a bit of an oxymoron. Our workers within the collective agreement, we have supervisor positions, which most people would think are management. These, you could refer to them as a lead hand, for example, or an in charge would be probably a more reflective name. So when you see a facility supervisor, I think many people, the first thought is it's a management position. They would be not out there hands-on with the tools, when in fact that is not the case in this position. So really just for information, we have other supervisors within the union, but they're working supervisors. It's somewhat of a challenging term from my perspective, having spent many years in the labor movement. So,
thank you, Blair. I had a question just on the building bylaw officers. So I know we have the senior planner position that's vacant. So if that fills, I'm assuming, we have a great leadership team here, so they're filling in. But if that position fills, is that freeing up that leader enough to help in the other areas? Because, all of a sudden, if we fill that and this one gets approved, that's 2 new positions. The other part of, what you did say, Kevin, is if we do get busy and, we might have to adapt at that time if we get more, building permits brought in. But I am assuming that it would be a priority that those are our customers, that they're going to get the best service we possibly can all the time. And, if there is an abundance of them coming through, we would have to shift and do what we have to. I would assume at that time to get through that. I don't know if you can comment on.
So through your worship, if we are able to secure a planner, that's obviously going to be a big assistance to the department, and that will take some load off of the manager. and would be very helpful for sure. The building inspection part, if we get busier, were you suggesting at that point we could then look for additional resources if that was to prove out?
Well, I guess like not with, overstepping any boundaries, because I know that you guys do a great job. It's just when you were commenting about if we get busier, we might be delaying those. Like to me, in my mind, that's not an option. If we get busier and there's more building going on, we need to adapt and change quick. Because we don't want to be delaying our customers who are those builders out there, right? Mm-hmm. So, I guess in one aspect, we're planning ahead, thinking that it might grow. But, that's tough going into the world that we're in right now, thinking that it might.
So through your worship, I guess my only comment would be is if it gets busier, we can only process them so fast. So if we've got 5 applications a week today and we end up with 10 tomorrow and double it, we can't just do them twice as fast. It won't just, they're doing them now as efficient as possible. And right now for a simple permit application, it's going to be 7 to 10 business days to turn that around. So that is the time frame it's going to take to do it. So if we get more applications, what my worry is that you just have a hopper full of applications and you can only process them so fast. Individuals come in May, and instead of being 10 days, what if it's 20 days? And that's going to be a problem for the building community. So how do we respond to that? At times now I've got, my building inspector working overtime to just manage the flow. So I guess the answer would be more overtime. So there's a cost to that, and there's a human cost to that as well of requiring that individual. They're okay to work some of it, but you can't ask them to work it all the time. So that's all I'm saying. Want to make sure council's well aware. If we do see a serious uptick, there may be an impact to the level of service, and I can certainly keep council abreast of that. But what I don't want is the customer feeling like the level of service has dropped off. And when we're only just trying to meet the demand that's in front of us with the resources we have.
So, and is that because we wouldn't be able to keep up because our manager or leader in that department has already ran thin because he's filling in strategic or on the senior planning? And because generally, can he not jump in and help with the permits, or can you not shift other leadership like short term in the organization, or is it a specific training they need for that?
Yeah, through your worship. So he does that now. He jumps in and is doing those permits as needed, as well as managing, as well as planning when needed, right? So it just means it's taken away from something else if he's doing more of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
So just for clarification then, with the building inspection side, are we failing to meet our services now? If you say we're having to do overtime, have our management take step into that role, are we already failing to provide that service?
So I guess we'd need to define failing. Right now, our goal is to meet a 2-week turnaround, 10 business days to process a permit and get it back to the builder. We typically exceed that, but that's our goal. So when I say exceed, we do better than that. We usually, less than 10 days, but that's our goal. And so we're working overtime, or we're having the manager step in to maintain that level of service.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Councillor Earl.
Just looking at the motion, Your Worship, provide a report to council. Is that, given the discussion we've had now, superfluous, or would Councillor McDonald still like a written, something more substantive than staff has offered?
Thank you, Councillor. I was going to comment on that if everybody was done asking discussion, but yeah, the motion is clearly just for a report. So if council feels that they don't need a report, then you would vote against this motion. If council feels that they still need a report or would like a report, then you would would vote in favor, is my understanding. So, is there any more discussion? Councillor Sudnick?
Just a question on the timeline for permitting. You have 5 to 10 business days for permit. Is that whether the guy wants to put a deck on his house or build, a house, right? So there's going to be different timelines required on that depending on what the project application is for the business license. So as these projects maybe get more complex, they may be down in numbers of applications, but the complexity of approving or going through the permit may be requiring more time. Is that correct?
Yeah, through your worship. A simple application, i.e. a single family dwelling, is that, kind of 10 business days. Someone comes in with a deck, theoretically, yeah, we can, that might be a couple of days. Someone comes in with an apartment building or, some form of multifamily, that might be longer yet because of the complexity. So there is that, but, that 10 business days is kind of the average goal that we try and hit. Like I say, we try and do better whenever we can.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no more discussion, is everybody clear on the motion? Yeah, okay. I'm going to call this motion to vote. The vote is closed, and it's denied, or defeated. Thank you. Next order of business is 4.5. I'm not laughing at the vote. I'm laughing at something else that's going on. 4.5, we have a request from Councillor Kemp to attend the 14th Annual Growing the North Conference, February 21st to the 22nd, 2023 in Grand Prairie. Councillor Kemp, do you want to push? Councillor Kemp?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had an email forwarded on to me in regards to this conference. The date and times worked. I looked over the conference. I think it would be really supportive. I'm such a person that supports, growing the North. So I have an interest in attending the conference.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. So we need a motion. Can we have a motion for, because 4.6 is also same thing. Can it be one motion for both? Okay, we can. Councillor McDonald, making a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve Councillor Kemp's and Councillor Parslow's request to attend the 14th Annual Growing the North Conference, February 21 and 23 of 2023 in Grand Prairie, Alberta.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sudnick? I just have one comment to that too. We do have in our budget for 10 conferences outside of the ones that throughout the year that we allow to go to. So that would come out of those 10. So everybody's clear. All right. Any discussion? Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, can you just clarify that? Is that 10 individual trips per combined out of the council then?
Yeah, so in the is it the procedures bylaw? No, policy. Yes, there's so all the conferences like the AGMs and the annual conferences each year, there's a list of them and how many can attend for each. And there's at the end, it's for others. There's 10 others on top of the UBCM and the ones that we go to. So yeah, did I get that right, Brenda? All right. Okay. I'm going to call this question to vote if there's no more discussion. The vote is closed. It's carried. So do I just skip 4.6 then, Brenda? Okay. And then before we move on, is there any other councillor business? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try to be quick. This is a new councillor business. It's usually quick. I wanted to extend a thank you to the South Peace Health Services Society, who hosted another healthcare employee appreciation night at the GDI last week. It was catered by Flavors 8. They did a great job. I was in attendance on behalf of the city, along with the area's D and E directors. And I just wanted to once again articulate our appreciation to that group and the healthcare workers who came out in support of it. and Councillor Kempf is there with me, we attended the latest NCLGA planning session, which is going to be coming to Dawson Creek within the new year. And that is moving along. We are into the speaker and panel discussion and keynote and what have you. So expect to see some more concrete information on that soon once we get the details hammered out. Lastly, I was also in attendance at the NLC Strategic Priorities unveiling session earlier this week. A lot of great conversation. I think there's a lot of potential synergies for the city of Dawson Creek and NLC to explore, and I think it'd be worth sitting down and having a discussion with them. They also highlighted during the conversation that they had a tremendous amount of data with respect to labor market assessment in the region as part of their strategic priority, and that they'd be willing to share it. So as we as a council move into our strategic planning, it might be worth reaching out to them and see what data they can provide to help inform our conversations. And that's everything from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Thank you for attending all that. All right. If there's no other councillor information, there's one thing I just wanted to touch on a little bit, just because we've been going, there's lots of budget talk already in here this morning, and, you know, that's new to a lot of us sitting at this table. Just for moving forward, the city staff are here to help with this as well. So whether it's Terry, Brenda, the CAO, Blair or Kevin, or myself, if there's things that are coming up, you know, feel free to reach out and they can set up meetings, as well as if there's motions you want to put forward and you're not sure how to do it, just give Brenda a call, or, you know, anybody can really help. That's what everybody's here for, is to help us learn and make the process smoother. So yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up to everybody's attention. So was there something? Okay. All right, next is 5, the adoption of minutes, 5.1. Get a motion to adopt the minutes. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Kempf. Any amendments to the minutes? No? I'll call that to vote. Got your hand up there. The vote is closed. That's carried. Any business arising? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to staff. Just a quick follow-up with respect to the motion passed at the last meeting around extending an invitation to a representative of the Crown to come talk to us about the various challenges we're facing with respect to property crime and public safety, and recidivism and chronic offenders, I guess was the phrase I used. So I'll stick with that. Have we had a response? Have we had any luck yet? Any notion? I mean, I assume with Christmas on the horizon, nobody's in any hurry, but hopefully in the new year we can secure some time with those folks.
Through Your Worship, I would ask Brenda through administration if we've reached out or had a response to this point.
Through Your Worship, we have put the request out for the invitation, and I believe we might have got a response just this morning, but we haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as of Friday, I think I followed up and there was no response yet. Okay. Any other business arising? No. Okay. 7, correspondence. We got 7.1. We got a letter from Raceland Van Spronson, resident of Dawson Creek, on November 30th, 2022. Reason a request for accessible transit for the citizens of Dawson Creek. Is there any councillor that would like to? Any councillors that would like to motion? Councillor Earl.
I move that we receive for information.
Do I have a second? Councillor Kempf. Is there any discussion on this with transit?
I thank Raceland for his persistence. Certainly, I'd imagine as we get into the strategic priorities in the new year with a new CAO, this is a conversation we'll revisit. And certainly the sentiments expressed in this letter will inform those discussions.
Councillor Apollonio?
Yeah. Thank you for this letter. Actually, I just only I received some feedback as well. Like, especially one commuters complained that, of course, especially during winter, the BC Transit is, due to the lack of time or maybe the constraint that being given to the public. So the concern is, especially during winter time, it's really hard, especially in this minus 45 degree, walking. Work or school, especially the students, because actually these students are the one that approach me lately, and it's really hard if they could be considered largely on the BC Transit or maybe step and ride, so at least the problem of transportation will be addressed the soonest.
Thank you, Councillor. I have a comment, I guess, just a little bit more on receiving this for information. I feel like that the transit situation in town is something that we need to revisit, and it might be part of strategic planning, but I think there should be a little bit more action than just receiving this for information, and whether that's reaching out to a group of the riders who are are struggling, with the current transit system, and maybe seeing if they have some thoughts or solutions around how we change it. I mean, based on what we have. So I'm just going to vote against it because I don't believe that we should just receive this for information. So, Blair?
Your Worship, just maybe some history on this. I know previous councils have dealt with this. It's a difficult topic. Raceland is passionate without question about the transit system in Dawson Creek. I've had the opportunity to speak with them, I'm sure as most of you have. The city made a financial decision 2 years ago to reduce the service by half. It's a shared cost between the city of Dawson Creek and BC Transit is how the system operates. At the time, we did reach out to other providers, whether it be Step Up and Ride. Others were engaged in the discussion. There was no willingness that we could find at that point to have other ways to deliver this service. There may be that opportunity still. But it is an ongoing issue, one that we spend a little over $400,000 a year on. Each ride, I will leave it at this, and we're in a challenging time. Is the people that need it, do they need it? Most certainly they do. But right now, each ride is in the subsidized range of $12 to $14 for every person that gets on our BC Transit. That comes from half from the city taxpayers, and half from BC Transit. So pretty substantial cost. Many of the riders, primarily the school district, many years ago, however they managed to do it, quit transporting children from one school to another. If you were used to live in Crescent Park area, for example, you could get on the bus at Crescent Park School in the morning and go to Central or South Peace. No longer. They've altered that system about 15 years ago. Which forced the city to pick it up under BC Transit. So there are some unique challenges. You'll find that through your time. Every service we deliver is a good service. It's just, can you afford to deliver the service? That's the question you're going to be asking yourselves as far as how do we continue, or is there a better method, a different model from BC Transit? So just a little history on that. This isn't new, and it will, I'm sure, be something you will deal with for your 4 years in your first term of office. So,
thank you, Blair. Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. I think for me, it's about looking at what that budget dollar is now that we spend, and is there a different solution in today's world that maybe meets the needs more. And and for me, part of it is I know Raceland's. I've seen the letter a few times on my time sitting up here, and my thoughts is maybe we do something a little bit different instead of receiving for information, and have a meeting and set up, maybe a community group that is part of that decision. Not meaning that we're going back to spending $800,000 because that's probably not an option, but how do we utilize our funds the best that we can? And my thoughts are, if we go to, the people, the citizens that use it, we might get a different answer or solution, or, at least have support or not support, right? So that's where my thoughts are. Anyways, if there's no more discussion on this, Councillor Sednick, did you have? No? Okay. Greg, you were done, right?
Yes.
Or sorry, Councillor Apollonio. I will call this question to vote. The vote is closed. It was carried, right? Yeah, it was carried 5-2. I can't see it. It flashed really quick. Councillor Sudnick was opposed, and myself, Mayor Dober, were opposed. All right, 7.2. We have a email from Jack and Jody Hingley, residents of Dawson Creek, received December 8th, 2022. Reason a request for the walking path by Crescent View Park be added to the city's snow removal schedule. Any councillors? I will make a motion that we have the staff bring back to us what the cost would be to add cleaning the walking path at Crescent View Park to the city's snow removal schedule. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kemp. And I didn't have any comments on that. I was just doing it to make a motion to get it on the floor. So, Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and keep with the motion. So, in addition to the costs, presumably, because most of our snow removal is guided by some fairly specific policy, if we're not maintaining this path based on some sort of classification or set of measurements, are we then, as part of the report, I guess, I'd hope to see, are we opening ourselves up to maintaining all similar paths and costs, just keeping in mind what our outgoing CAO often says, what we do for one, we have to do for all. So if we're creating a new standard of maintenance for this type of path, is that standard of maintenance something we're then going to be expected to, or are we just varying policy for one path?
So through Your Worship, you're right, policy dictates. So if this was something that council wanted to take on, we would have to amend the policy to include it. Right now, our snow clearing policy for sidewalks indicates which ones that we clear. The rest are the responsibility of the property owners that front that sidewalk. In this particular case, it's Crescent View Park up in the northwest corner of town that has, multiple paths that go through the park. We currently clear the sidewalk to the top of 17th Street, and then we turn around and come back and do the other side. This would just require the sidewalk clearing machine to detour off of 17th and go down to the park, do the park, and come back. So it would just add, we can certainly bring something back that, attaches some estimation of costs and time to that. What I'm told is it's, maybe it's a 15, 20-minute type of exercise, but we'll get that and bring that back for council.
Thank you. I guess one question is further to the motion. By that motion, asking you to bring back a price, is that something that's fairly easy to do, Kevin, or is that going to take a lot of time to put together?
No, through Your Worship. I mean, I've had my staff take a look at it already and say, how long do you think it's going to take you to go down there with the sidewalk clearer? And like I said, they've come back and said it's 15 or 20, 25 minutes. So even, we can quickly allot, some staff time. It's not a huge exercise to do that.
Okay, thank you. Blair, did you want to?
Your Worship, just a quick point that was raised by Councillor Earl as well. We are in a unique situation with this park. Many of our other parks, if not all, we have the walking trail through Kin Park, which goes from one end of town to the other, which accesses some playgrounds and different fields. I'm not aware of any other parks that have proper walking trails or paths cut through them, like Crescent View. This is a new park in a new subdivision. Paved paths through there, so it is somewhat unique. I think as our city develops and grows in new areas and new subdivisions, we'll see more of this. But I live in Crescent Park, backed onto the park there. For instance, there is no walking paths through that park. There are people that keep it open via heaven forbid, should I say, a four-wheeler going through and plowing it so people can walk and so on, but it's taken care of that way. This one is somewhat unique in the sense that we have paved walkways through Crescent View Park that was put in by the developer as part of our building bylaw, I believe. A percentage of the land had to be park. So just, again, additional information for your consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Just to Kevin, you'd say 15 to 20 minutes to clean this trail. Does that include moving the equipment to that location, or is it fairer another 15 minutes either end in moving the equipment to the place?
So through your worship, that's because we're already there. We're already at the top of 17th, so then we'd be just going there. So it's 15 minutes additional time to what we're already doing.
Okay, and I was going to comment on staff's comment about the part that butts onto his property. There are walking trails there, but they are, should we say, established by other means. But again, this is an example. While it's not paved, there's de facto a walking trail. I've seen people, all sorts of people walking on it. So they may well like to have that cleaned by the city one day, even though it's just not a paved thing. It's just a de facto trail that's there.
Isn't somebody going into retirement? They like shoveling, I heard. I don't know who that would be, but all right, well, if there's no more discussion, I'm going to call this. Actually, I'm just going to have Brenda just read this motion out, just so we're clear on it.
Yeah, the motion was for staff to bring back costs to add the walking trail at Crescent View Park to the city's sidewalk clearing schedule.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, and I'll call this question to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. I am going to take a 5-minute recess. Council meeting with Committee of the Whole back to order for Monday, December 19th. Our next order of business was 7.3. We have an email from Tammy Lord, resident of Dawson Creek, received on December 9th, 2022. Request to adopt and use the outdoor rink located across from Canelta School. Councillor Apollonio.
Yeah, I would like to adopt the letter from Ms. Tammy Lord.
Okay. I think do you want any direction on that? Like, what do we want to accept her recommendation to allow them to adopt the?
Yeah, just to adopt the letter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So just to clarify what Councillor Apollonio was saying, he would like to accept the letter, having Tammy Lord and the residents adopt the skating facility at Canelta. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick, did you have anything you'd want to add to that, Councillor Apollonio? No? Okay. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to staff. So, and I imagine that the answer is yes, or else it wouldn't have come before us. But just to confirm, we do own that outdoor rink. That's not the school. Okay, good. Secondly, I know the parking lot in which, or the kind of lot area in which it's contained is used as staff parking by the school district. Want to make sure that if this is granted, that's not going to become an issue for them. Secondly, to the best of my knowledge, this would be a unique arrangement. What considerations do we have to take with respect to liability and insurance, and who will be paying for that?
Okay.
To Your Worship, first of all, the boards have not been dealt with since 2015 or earlier, so there is going to be some repair in there, so there is some risk. What would happen is we would do it similar to Adopt a Park. So what would happen, we'll talk around there, talk about what their duties would be, what the city would be expected. They would have to have some type of insurance, as well, and then we would work through our insurance, what we have. We already have insurance through Municipal Insurance Association. So we'll have to determine that, what would happen with that park, because it's going to be brand new, it's going to be unique, so it's going to be similar to Adopt a Park. But just so council is aware, those boards have not been dealt with since 2014-15, when we stopped doing outdoor ice rinks there. As far as the parking would go, the skate rink would be normally used after hours, so if the school continued on parking there, we shouldn't have an issue with that being there at that point.
Just to follow up on what Shante said, what was the reason for the service being discontinued in 2015?
My understanding from it was to reduce costs within the city when they were looking at reducing costs.
So but that was suggested due to a lack of use, or just it was?
Just to reduce the cost within that facility. When I was working at the arena in 2000, when I moved over there, what we had did, we went to each rink once a month, and we'd make sure that we'd put ice on it, but all the schools would help do some work with them as well. And then the city would put in the ice, similar to what we have done in the past, was put in the ice. But this group is looking at taking over it and looking at maintaining the boards and so on and so forth, what would be a great area of adopting a park.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shante. Councillor Parslow.
I was just trying to add to what Shante was saying, that the various outdoor rinks got into states of disrepair. Many of them were, I believe, school district ones, and they were not very well used. Just like the outdoor rink at the Rotary Lake, which was tried. I checked with Alex, the president, and the amount of labor to keep them open didn't justify the very little use they had. So that's why that one got discontinued at Rotary Lake, and the ones like at Tremblay and Frank Ross, they got discontinued because they weren't really widely used, but they did take quite a bit of work in maintaining, and also the flooding and keeping it clear of snow and stuff. So if these people want to do it, good for them, but it does need to take care of the, are we going to pay for the capital cost, the repair, let's say?
Shante?
Through your worship, what they had said is they were looking at maintaining that volunteers that were going to go and look at the board. So we're going to have to go do a walkthrough. We're going to have to go look at it to make sure that what they're going to do is going to be repaired, that they are, because again, we have not looked at these since 2014-15. So at the end of the boards, you can see there's the wiring, and then there's the wood all the way around there. So we're going to have to make sure that it's been out in the weather, it's been out there. So we have to determine that it's going to be safe enough, and have a plan with Ms. Lord to figure out how to do that. And if there's a community group that wants to do that, that's great. One of the challenges is with outdoor rinks, when it's not covered, the snow and that comes in, it's a lot additional work. Whereas if they are covered, there's a little bit less work within those.
Can I ask Shanti one more question about what she said? Liability insurance. Is that you said they'd have to take out insurance?
We're going to have to look at what would happen. So the only experience that we have about what we're doing with Adopt a Park was when we were looking at Minor Ball taking over one of the ball diamonds, is that they would have liability insurance. So we need to determine what's going to happen if this group is going to be a nonprofit group, how it is, if they can even take liability insurance. Otherwise, it would come under the Municipal Insurance Association, and we'll work this week with staff to determine what that would look like and if there is a cost with that. But it does fall, we would have insurance within the city already. Do you have some questions that you can maybe answer? Can I defer to you?
For me?
No. Yeah, for insurance. We will work with Michelle, so we'll have those questions, because we do have insurance already within the city under the liability that has fallen within the skate rinks before.
Thank you. Blair, I just had a question to you. Just based on, the ask and then the motion that's being put forward, is that sufficient for staff to bring us back, or do we need to change that motion a little bit because do we need some information brought back from staff to see how this is possible? I think sounds like, there's a great community group that wants to help do this, and we're in support of that. We just want to make sure we do it right. So
I think the motion as it stands would work from Councillor Apollonio. I think what we're seeing here is Shantae will go to work with the group. They may very well come back and say, look, we would like to adopt this rink. We will maintain it and look after it moving forward. They may have an ask of mayor and council, say, look, we need you to work with us on the boards or something, at which point you would have to consider that then. Yeah, much of what's gone on in the past and something was missed. The community, whether it be a school-owned rink, of which I grew up in, I think most of us did with our children, we would go out and flood them. We would go out and clear them. I think the community will take that on. As I understand this group, that's what they're saying they're willing to do. The school board and the schools were always open to allowing us to tie into the outdoor, I think it was the fire connection or water connection. That's how we would flood the rinks and so on. So the motion as it stands, I think, is acceptable. If council votes to say we support them adopting this, we as a city would meet with them. And if they have additional requests, such as capital cost or whatever, that would come back before you as well.
Okay. So, thank you, Blair.
A liability, I'll just close with this. It really doesn't matter your liability, joint and several liability. I'm sure most of you have heard about whoever has the deepest pockets is who somebody's going after. Whether they have it or not, and the city has it, we're in this together. So,
thank you, Blair. Shantae, did you want to add something to?
Through your worship, we are assisting with the speed skating over right now as well. When they put the water in there, we are assisting with them to help as well with some funding as well with putting water in that source. And they have some volunteers helping with them as well.
Thank you. I was excited to hear that just recently got flooded by them. Yeah, awesome. All right, if there's no other discussion, I will call this motion to vote. Is everybody clear on the motion? Yeah. Okay. The vote is closed. That's carried. Next is 7.4. We have a letter from Connie Patterson, President of Dawson Creek Exhibition Association, received on December 12th, 2022. The request for the City of Dawson Creek to pay $3,519.92 for the engineering of new builds on the exhibition grounds in 2022. Before I put this out for a motion, Blair, could you give us a bit of an update? Because I'm pretty sure that there's some funds set aside for this already, so I'm just wondering why we need to have a motion.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Mayor and Council, the previous Mayor and Council passed a motion putting forward $130,000 to help the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association with different costs associated with developing a building, whether it be the engineering costs, the permit fees, and so on. That motion was for two buildings, one being the 4-H building, which we see down there now, and the other was the extension on the cow barn. That expenditure came in, we paid that bill. It was, I think, in the $20,000 range. I don't have the number in front. So there is, I believe, over $100,000 in the fund that's carry forward, but it would mean just an alteration to the original motion. We had tied the original motion to the cow barn and the 4-H building. Council went with this expenditure because although the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association, they fund the buildings, they get them built, they look after it, they then are owned by the City of Dawson Creek, is what happens. It reverts to us. So it was felt at the time that our portion of help would be this, as far as the engineering and the permitting costs. So should council wish to proceed with this, I would suggest that the original or a motion be added that these two would be included in the original funding that has been put forward and carried forward in the 23 budget.
Because that budget hasn't, like those funds that we've set aside for that haven't been used and likely won't all be used for those two projects, correct?
Correct. I'll ask Terry to either clarify what I've said or correct me completely.
Yeah, no. So through your worship, it has been a little bit more than 20,000. So also my bad. So for the cow barn engineering fees, we have 31,219 remaining, and for the 4-H building, we have 51,506. So that's in the 2023 capital plan as a carry forward from 2022. So, as Blair had said, you could just rewrite the motion and include these two things to be paid out of these funds.
Okay.
Because I don't think that the city anticipates that these funds will be depleted.
Okay. So if we are in favor of this, Blair, we could just make an amendment to that existing motion right now, or what is or Brenda, what would be the proper thing to do now before we ask? Go ahead.
Through your worship, it would just be to approve paying the invoices as requested in the letter from the funds remaining from the original request.
You're amazing. Thank you. All right. Does anybody like to make a motion? Councillor McDonald.
So I would like to make a motion that we use the carryover from the original funding from previous motion to pay the 2 invoices as requested by Connie Patterson of the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association.
Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick? I'm just going to give Brenda a minute to... Good? Okay. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to staff. So with respect to these 2 initiatives, and kudos to them for keeping busy, there have been instances with these kind of projects in the past where we find out the work is done after the fact. Did they come to us with these initiatives prior to engaging an engineer, or is this the first we're hearing about it?
No, this has been in discussion. They present a 5-year capital as well that they're working on. I believe it was coming in Friday. I wasn't here Friday. But part of our agreements that we put forward with our leaseholders is to develop 5-year capital plans. I believe we're going to see coming forward from this group as well horse barns. I know that has been high on their priority since they were removed from the ground years ago. So, yeah, we're aware this isn't... Although the challenge that you're talking about is, there was no permit taken out for that, and we found out after the fact. These are, I think the relationship we have with the Exhibition Association, the work we've done over the last couple of years has corrected any of that.
Yep, that was, that's my concern is we're not having to play catch up, no surprises. So we appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, just basically, I guess, in the same tenor of Councillor Earl here. So am I right to assume that in the budget that we are going to be supporting the actual construction of the infield suites and the food booth? So that they're not covered by our agreement?
From what I understand, most buildings that have been built down there, they've looked after the cost of the building itself. It's the engineering fees and that we've been looking after, because at the end of the day we own the building because it's city property. So
yes, Your Worship, for clarification, these are just the engineering costs that we would delve into, not the construction costs. They raise their own money. They use their own. Many times it would be volunteer groups, or they'll hire contractors to do it. Our cost associated with that first $130,000 that Mayor and Council approved, I believe it's 2 years ago now, is for the engineering and permitting costs.
Okay. So have you got any indication in this 5-year plan with the stand, the grandstand for the Chuck Button races? Is that expected to be in the 5-year budget that you were talking about?
As I said, I haven't seen that yet through Your Worship to Councillor Parslow. It may very well be. We've had just recently before the 100th anniversary event this past year, we had the grandstands evaluated, looked at, work done on them. It's our goal now, and the suggestion was that we look at those on a yearly basis. They are something that, without question, as we look to the future, are going to have to plan one day for, but not at the present time that I see. Now, the Exhibition Association may come forward and say, look, on the 5th year of our 5-year plan, we're suggesting we look at engineering a new set, and on the 7th year, again, I'm predetermining what they may say, but that'll be a cooperative effort between the two, because that is a very substantial cost.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Is there any other discussion? No? Ooh, that was close. I will call this motion to vote. Is everybody clear on the motion? Need it read back? No? Okay. Vote is closed. It's carried. Our next order of business is 8 reports. We have 8.1, which is report number 22-136 from the corporate officer, reason the Dawson Creek Library Board appointments. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 22-136 from the corporate officer regarding Dawson Creek Municipal Library Board appointments be received. Further, that Dawson Creek residents Lacey Grin and Garrett Williamson be appointed to the library board. Further, that council approve an agreement being entered into between the Peace River Regional District and the library board that will provide for the appointment of one or more Peace River Regional District residents to the Dawson Creek Library Board with a maximum number equal to 1/3 of the total library board members.
I have a second. Councillor Sudnick, any discussion? Discussion. I don't know what to do right now. I'm going to call this question to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next is 8.2. We have report number 22-137 from the corporate officer, reason business facade improvement program 2023. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-137 from the corporate officer regarding business facade program be received. Further, that council supports the application to the Northern Development Initiative Trust from the City of Dawson Creek and Community Futures Peace Liard for the grant of up to $20,000 for the 2023 business facade improvement program. Further, that council approves the 2023 business facade guidelines attached to this report.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Apollonio. Any discussion? Councillor Earl, did you want to?
I think this is a great program. I think the fact that it's not more oversubscribed is a shame. Certainly, I've mentioned it a couple times here today, but downtown revitalization and strategic planning initiatives like this should play a featured role in helping provide some support to local businesses who are looking to aid the city in the goal of making our downtown core, the reestablishing it as the center of commerce for our city.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? No, I'll call this question to vote. The vote is closed. It's carried. Next we have 8.3, report number 22-140 from the Recreation Manager, reason the pool schedule revisit. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 22-140 from the Recreation Manager regarding pool schedule report be received. Further, that staff be directed to continue to work toward a 7-day schedule.
I have a second. Thank you, Councillor Kempf. Councillor Sudnick. Did you want to speak to that, Councillor Kempf?
Thank you, Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you again for the report. I understand that there's staff requirements. They're in the process of the recruitment as well as training needing to get done. But I still feel that we could work towards that 7-day schedule, and I'm really hopeful in the next couple of months we can obtain that requirement. I just feel the schedule right now just isn't meeting what the public needs.
Thank you. Shante?
Through your worship, it is a priority for us to get to the 7-day schedule. As Aaron stated in the report, we have in the process of hiring 140-hour staff. Once we can get more, we're still trying to recruit. Once we get a second staff, we will be able to go to a 6-day schedule, and then we still need to hire some more staff to get to the 7-day. Our goal is this year to get to the 7-day as soon as we can, but again, it comes from staffing. We cannot ask the staff that are currently 15-hour staff that are working 30 hours a week to continue on maintaining that when that's not what their wish is, and they've did an amazing job to keep us open. As Aaron stated in the report, many other facilities around the area have had to close the doors. We have maybe been in a 5-day operation, but we have not had to close our doors during any time that we opened again, not to be able to, because of staff or whatever. We may have had less people in the pool and only be able to have like 100, we'd have to wait till people left because we didn't have 3 staff to be able to maintain that. But again, our goal is to get to 7 days Counselor Kemp. It is really important for us as well. We know that it's not meeting them. Right now we've added some extra hours, so Saturdays will be 2 additional extra hours in the evening. And then on Tuesday, because we don't have any rentals at that point, we're going to have public swimming starting at 3:30 in the afternoon on the Tuesday, and we can maintain that with the staff that we have. Again, we need to get more staff. So thank you.
Councillor McDonald. Sorry.
Have we been given reasons from our casual staff why they do not want to move into a full-time role? And also, it was suggested to me, and I don't know if it's true, it was just brought up to me, that after the Aubert training, many of the successful trainees were disappointed that once they were done the training, they only saw 1 casual position advertised by the city.
So through your worship, first, there was actually through the Aubert Society, there was 9 that went through, and only 4 out of the 9 actually applied. 5 did not. 2 of those were 15-year-olds, and I actually was doing the interviews, and we did multiple with them. That actually was not correct information. We were open to all of them to be hired, as long as they passed their wet tryouts as well as their interviews. So that was there. And then, sorry, what was the second part?
Why do our casual employees
Councillor McDonald.
Yeah. So our employee casuals, they are, we have 15 part-time ones, like 15 hours, and they do have families and they don't wish to work more. They have other commitments, and so they have chosen, we have asked them if they would like to move forward into 40-hour positions, but that does not work with their lives at this moment, and a lot of other ones have multiple jobs and they choose to pick up 2 shifts per month. And with our union agreement, that's as little as our that they can pick up with maintaining their job, and we can't force them to pick up more.
Okay, and just one more. We have an amazing, strong swim club here in this community. Have we pursued partnership with the Dawson Creek Seals to develop these amazing swimmers into positions with the community then further?
So we have asked, we have talked with their president before, and I've given information on how to move forward, how to become Bronze Cross, Bronze Medallion, and then again, it's up to them to want to pursue forward if they choose.
Have they ever given us any feedback why they choose not to pursue?
I do know a lot of it does have to timing and how much commitment they have as to when they are swimming and then also some of their people actually do guard for them as well. So it's, I believe, just a timing thing and age. So, because they could have also gone into the Aubert Society program if they had chosen to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shante?
Sorry, through your worship. One more thing we just want to let you know, we are working with the school district. One of the key things that we think would really be important is to be able to have a lifeguard program through the school that would be taken as a course. They would get credits for it, and it would possibly run from February to June. We won't be able to look at that until next year, but we have had one discussion with the principal within the school district, because that's another way to get some of those younger in there. But the issue with us, with our staffing, is not necessarily the younger ones. They move on to careers. It's getting people that want to stay and have that as a career for them. And you know, you're making around $65,000 to $70,000 a year. It pays very well, but it's some people that's just not their career that they wish to choose. We'll continue on though.
I think part 2, if I can just add a little bit to this, I kind of maybe think I get where you're coming from, Councillor McDonald, because I've heard some comments in the community and from people that have tried these programs that we've had at the school district. So I've asked and listened, and I'm not saying we're not, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but there's some reasons why some of these weren't being used, and I don't know if it's, you know, us as a city, we need a better communication platform where, if there is people that have talked to Councillor McDonald about, why they maybe don't want to use it, or if they talk to me, or, even exiting team members about, maybe why they're not using it. Because I think you can learn a lot from that. And I think that's important. And, in life in every aspect is to listen and learn, because, I know we've had a lot of struggles with this pool and hours for a long time, and and I'm not saying that we're not trying and we're not battling to get it open more, but if there is some things that we're doing that aren't getting perceived well, I think maybe there's an opportunity to listen or open some kind of communication dialogue. So I don't know if that's what you were getting at, Councillor McDonald, but I've had some comments myself. So.
Thank you, Worship. It is. I have heard comments about there possibly being a negative culture in that facility. When my children participate in SEALs, when we first joined SEALs, many of the senior swimmers naturally became lifeguards. That doesn't happen anymore. And in speaking to those children, they're very adamant that they do not want to be a part of our pool and that culture. They find it negative, they find it abrasive, and they don't want to be a part of it. And I just wonder, is it something we need to look into, that we need to fix the culture there, that we are working with these kids? These are amazing kids coming from the Dawson Creek SEALs program. They work as junior coaches, they become assistant coaches, they become coaches of SEALs. It just seems to me it would be a natural progression that they would also want to have that employment coming back from university, because I know years previous they've held their seniority while away at school, that they can keep it as an excellent, you're absolutely right, it's a wonderful job for a student to make proper funds to continue their education. I just wonder what has happened that the kids no longer want to be a part of working within the city's facility.
Through your worship, actually, well, in saying that would be something that I would love to have to be able to talk to them. I have stepped into this position a year and a half ago, and I know that that's something we're working on. That it has been told us in the past that there is, there's always unhappiness between other people. It just depends on who you work with, but we are trying to change that negative connotation, because from what I've seen with the staff when I have stepped in, they're very hardworking, they're very engaging. I know when other people have tried to work with them, like coming in as new employees, that those staff have stated that they felt that they were very warming and trying to give them tips and that type of thing. As well as we do have staff who have been in SEALs who are went away to university and have come back and are now working with us as part-time employees as well. So, but again, if that is something that is out there, I would certainly want to have a conversation with those students and see how we can make a difference for sure.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Your Worship, if I could just echo what Aaron has said. Certainly over the last 3 years that I've sat in this position, we have struggled, and not just we, I say we collectively as a country, to get lifeguards to come and stay. The world is a changed spot. I grew up in SEALs, participated part of my early career. It was a big deal to become a lifeguard if you could. Maybe I'm seeing it differently, but there doesn't seem to be that same enthusiasm for that. Maybe the world obviously is a changed place. But my experience at the pool has been that they have done an incredible job. Doesn't mean that we can't improve or learn from what we do. And I know that both Aaron and Shantae have been working on this hard, but I am going to say that the staff we have, I think, done the best they can under the circumstances we've been dealt. And I say we collectively, not the city of Dawson Creek, but our country. When you can make $60,000 or $70,000 a year, and people, think maybe that's just not for me, they're going to choose a lifestyle or whatever it is they're going to go to. I think we pay our slide attendant $20+ an hour to stand there and make sure somebody's tall enough. That seems like a pretty decent job to look at somebody's height to me, but it's we will do, and I know they will continue to do the best. My experience, I go there a lot with my grandchildren, and I am going to say, look, if there are things to fix, and every day I believe we can get better at what we do than we did the day before. So having said that, overall, I think we do a good job, but if there's a cultural issue, we will look at it. That's not the feedback I've read. So I always encourage people, reach out to the people that can make the difference as well. So if you have an issue, give us a call. Certainly, I know I'm on my way out, but I know I can speak. The senior team I've worked with are incredible at responding to people's requests. If there's an issue, we will look at it and we will get an answer. Sometimes it may not be the answer that people want to hear, because sometimes the information we get isn't based on some factual information. I'm not saying that's the case in every case, but I will stand before you and say that the crew I've worked with at the pool and within my team here at the city have done a pretty darn good job. Again, not to say we can't get better, and that includes myself and everybody else. So.
Thank you, Blair. And I don't know if we were, or questioning our staff at anything. I think our staff at the city does an amazing job, and it's like Blair said. It's just if there's areas where we can get better, it's all about that. We should be moving forward every day, and how do we become better today than we were yesterday, and vice versa tomorrow. So, Councillor Parslow.
I've used the swimming pool when it was the old Centennial Pool and now the Ken Barrett Aquatic Centre. I'm just flummoxed as to some of the things that you hear because I don't experience it. I would suggest that the deportment, the customer care that I receive in the last 20 years is excellent, and so much better than it was prior to that. Although it wasn't bad then either, but it's much better. I don't know I know as Blair correctly stated, there's a continental problem with swimming pools. You read the New York Times, Washington Post like I do, and there's closures everywhere, right? And curtailment. The only substantive thing that I have heard has got nothing to do with personalities or culture. It's the scheduling, and I don't know, again, is this factual or not, but all I've heard is that splitting the shifts so that they have a couple of hours here, then a gap, and then a couple of hours here is not conducive to recruitment. That's the only substantive thing I want to reflect. But I think I've mentioned that before. But the rest, I'm just delighted every time I go to the pool with the staff and what I see. So, thank you.
Thank you. I know that these schedules were missed being put in the agenda, but I know there's two different ones. Can you explain? Yeah, I'm aware that's the more current one, but so the one that we received before that, was that the one we were trying to get to for this and it didn't succeed? Sorry, Shante.
Through your worship, I apologize. The first one that you received was one that we were hoping to get to for February 18th, but we're not there. We only have hired one staff. So the one that we replaced it with is what we will be going with. We added 2 additional hours on Saturday, so from 5 to 7. And then we're opening up earlier on Tuesday. Instead of opening up at 6 o'clock, we're going to be opening up at 3:30 in the afternoon and going 3:30 to 9. That's the schedule that we're with right now. We have increased the hours a bit, but we're not increased to 6 days. As soon as we get another staff, we will go to the 6 days schedule.
Okay, and that will be adding on Thursday, just because it will work the Saturday to the Thursday, and then the next will be adding the Friday as soon as we can do that. Thank you. And then just add to some clarification on what Councillor Parslow spoke about. Is the ultimate goal to get back to 7 days without these splits, like being open 9 till 9, kind of inclusive through the day? Through your worship, what happens within our collective agreement, when they're full-time staff, we don't do split shifts. But say, for example, that I'm a
a lifeguard and I'm also a swim instructor, but I'm not a lifeguard one. So sometimes they will pick a time in the morning from 9 to 1, but our swim lessons are at 3:30 to 6. So if they're going to teach the swim lessons that they need to teach, they'll have a break and they'll go back to swim lessons. But we try not to have the split shifts, but there has been, like the staff right now have worked all over the place to make sure that it worked. That's not where we want to go. The last few years, it has been, since we reduced staff, we have done some different things, but we need to make sure that we get back to not having split shifts for staff within that.
Thank you. Yeah, and obviously thanking the staff for what they've been through down there too has been good. So
I think that's one of the important things is that, you know, they hear it from us, but making sure that they know that council and the mayor are happy with the work that they've done, and that would be really important for them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think there's enough discussion there. I'm going to call this question to vote. Vote is closed. Sure it was carried. Okay, it's carried. Next, we have 8.4. We have report number 22-141 from the Director of Infrastructure, purchase of used vehicle picker truck. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will move the recommendation that report number 22-141 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding purchase of used vehicle picker truck be received. Further, that Council approve the purchase of the used 2017 Ram 5500 picker truck up to $115,000 plus applicable taxes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sudnick. Kevin, I might just ask you to cover quickly on why this is brought forward, because I know you mentioned it to me the other day.
Yeah, through your worship. So as you'll see in the report, we had budgeted $200,000 to purchase a new picker truck that we would be utilizing in water and sewer and a few other areas. We became aware of this particular vehicle here a week or a little better ago. It was for sale. We thought it was worth, you know, taking a look at it and exploring it a bit. So we contacted the individual. They allowed us to take it down to our shop, go through it. Everything is really good shape. Mechanics were very happy. So that's why you see it in front of us, is we believe there's value here for us. It's a good unit. It's a good price. It's available now. So, you know, not only are we potentially going to save some money, but, we're going to get access to it much sooner than if we were to order a new one. So, yeah.
Thank you. And when you say new one, we have a current one that's just getting aged out?
We had money in the budget to buy a new one, but it's just if we were to order a brand new one, the timelines to get it could be 6 months to 18 months. So this is just a savings for us.
Thank you. Councillor Earl, sorry.
Not much to add. Thank you to staff for thinking outside the box and rolling with the punches and hopefully saving some money. In addition, procurement is one of those things where we try and be as by the book as possible. But thank you for bringing this back, and good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Kevin, I just got one quick question around this. I'm assuming now when we need a picker truck, we're using a contractor. Do we know roughly what we spend using that contractor? And does this impact obviously their business will be impacted a bit, but
Sure.
they're aware of?
So through your worship, I don't have a number in front of me. I know that anytime we need to pull pumps out of sewer lift stations or anything like that, we have to contract somebody to come in and do that. This also gives us some additional abilities where we don't hire a picker truck, whether it's setting gravestones, might be lifting hydrants, lifting valves, some of those things that we just, either bring a loader in or we, use manpower to do this. This might afford us a little bit more of that as well.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other discussion, I will bring this question to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 8.5, report number 22-142 from the General Manager of Community Service, Reason the Street banner design. Councillor Parslow.
I move the report 22-142 from the General Manager of Community Services, street banner design be received. Further, that staff be directed to advise all bidders that the request for quotations number 2022-36 has been cancelled. And further, that staff be directed to work with council to reflect their branding of the banner design.
I have a second. Councillor McDonald. Sorry, Councillor Kemp. Councillor Parslow, would you like to talk on that?
Yes, these proposed banners will have, I'm just going from memory here from reading the report a few days ago, have a lifespan of about 4 years at least, right? 10 years, thank you.
15.
15 years, thank you.
15,
Any more offers? 20 years? A lifespan of 20 years then. I think it's important to pause at this moment. I've looked at the proposed ones and, I've seen them before, sort of thing. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with them. But I do think that Council has to seize this opportunity to reflect how we can capture in these banners maybe some of the important initiatives that we're about. And so we will be sometime in the new year engaged in some strategic planning, and we will have the option of having some input into those designs possibly at that time, possibly in consultation with some of our partners.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just to kind of touch on the sentiment expressed by Councillor Parslow, I don't think any of the offered designs are bad per se. I just do, and I hesitate to try and put a graphic designer hat on here because that's not what but they do seem, design A and B seem a little redundant with respect to design C and D. The art gallery and the Mile Zero post are both well-loved features of this community, but I think to just double down on that, you leave a lot of other aspects go unappreciated, and if we are going to revisit this, I'd like to see a bit more variety in that respect.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Councillor Parslow.
So just to dig a little deeper on this matter, banners. So is the practice of displaying graduation people, the graduating class, is that being discontinued?
I can speak to that as well. The proposal for this is to have banners on every second post. So there would be the other half of the posts that would have banners would be for graduation or other events going on through.
Okay.
Originally, through Your Worship, the issue of graduation banners came as a result of COVID when they couldn't host theirs.
Yes.
So that would come at the request of the school district, should they wish to continue it, and then they actually had purchased them or had them donated. They had people donate their time to put them up and take them down as well. So that was a no-cost item to the city, but I believe it was really tied to what we went through with no events and so on. Now, whether they would continue that or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, might be one of the good things that came out of the time.
So if I just pursuing that, so banners are displayed on 8th Street. I'm talking here the main thoroughfare from the roundabout as you exit past Walmart. But they're not displayed on the Alaska Avenue. Now, both parts of the road are under the control of the provincial government, right? It's a part of Ministry of Transportation's responsibility. So I'm exploring. I heard that we were prohibited from putting these banners up on the Alaska Avenue, but why would we be allowed on the 8th Street part of the main thoroughfare? And why can we pursue it so that we do get some possibility of displaying these banners on the main Alastra Avenue thoroughfare leading to Fort St. John?
I'll jump in and then you can follow up if you need to, Shantae. So I believe the reason, and historically, we look at Alaska Avenue, they're full of hydro poles, wooden hydro poles. There's nothing allowed to be fastened to that pole. The reason being, so in the days, and you don't see it a whole lot anymore, when people were spiking the poles to work on the lines and so on, if you did what was called, if you cut out and you fell down, you'd get cut in half by something. So definitely nothing fastened, including fences in your back alley and so on. Now, a lot are, but they're supposed to be, that's the intent. I believe the 8th Street, if you look at the banners where they're on metal poles and fastened. That's the reason that I'm aware of on how that. So I don't think we would probably get pushback from highways if we said we want to install our own poles and put in banners on Alaska Avenue. I'm quite confident they would probably be receptive to that. But again, that's a much higher capital cost when you go down that road. So, all right.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? Okay, I'm going to call this question to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried.
Your Worship, just a quick question on this topic now. So is there a proposal that you have as a mayor and council on how you would want to pick designs? I'm just unaware in the past of, I mean, the banners were put together, they were put up, they weren't approved by mayor. Is there I'm looking for a suggestion. Do you want us to go engage a number of more designs and bring them back, or are you going to bring designs in that you like or have seen? Just for staff's assistance. There's money and time tied up in the 4 before you, in the many thousands of dollars. So I anticipate that in order to get others, we would need some form of direction from yourselves, if that makes sense. I'm just looking for a path forward on these.
From what I'm understanding, and I've had some discussions with Councillor Parzo, I think that there would be nothing we would require from staff until we give direction. So I don't think there's any requirement as of now until we've done some strategic planning and give direction as a group where we see that. So.
Okay, the one thing, and it was just pointed out to me, so the arms and the mounting brackets are all paid for and ordered.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we would have to, just as we go forward, the size and stuff will be very important that we don't look at altering that so that we could use the same brackets and so on. So there was no intent by staff from this side to try and put something in. Just in the past, mayor and council didn't approve the actual designs of them. They gave an intent, and the mile zero post and the elevator are a highlight for the city. So I think it was built around that would be a fair statement. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there, Councillor Parzo, did you want to touch on that since you put the motion forward?
Well, of course I had considered those matters. And it was a given that the mounts had been purchased. So it was a given that the size limitations would be there. It's just, you thought so as well, yeah. You were just checking. So we will be, so what the mayor said is exactly aligns with my reflections. It's remarkable because we talked about it. No.
There's some wisdom
they're
there.
bought, that's great. The size limitations are fine, but I mean, good points to bring forward in case you were anxious about that in your retirement.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next order of business is 9 bylaws, 9.1, 2023 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw, number 4540, 2022 for adoption. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor McDonald, any discussion? No? I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 9.2, report number 22-135 from the Development Service Manager, reasons zoning amendment 2022 2204 bylaw, number 4541, 2022, reason farmers market. Lots of lit up here. Did a motion? Okay, Councillor, there's a recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-135 from the Development Services Manager regarding zoning amendment 22-04, bylaw number 4541, 2022 be received. Further, that zoning amendment 22-04, bylaw number 4541, 2022 be given first and second reading to amend section 21.1.1.A P-2 Recreation and Cultural Zone Principles uses to include farmers market. Further, that staff be directed to publish the advertising required for a public hearing.
Thank you for catching that, Councillor. I'll second. Councillor McDonald, any discussion? Councillor Parslow.
Well, question staff. Farmers market is put in quotation marks. So in the area of development, what is that? What does a farmers market mean? Does it have a definition? I'm wondering if you can inform me, because the farmers markets that I go to in Grand Prairie, in a nice covered area, and in Fort St. John, in a nice covered area, are primarily arts and crafts. So I'm just wondering, does farmers market, is it in planning, something like that? Any outdoor or temporary structure, or because the ones that we have here tend to be also arts and crafts? And
so, through Your Worship, I believe there is a definition of farmers market, and I was just quickly going to our zoning bylaw. Oh, it's actually in the report. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's what you were referring to, Councillor?
I'm just wondering. Yes, does it mean something in planning, right? Because what we're looking for is enabling some, what do you call it, impromptu people who are not operating out of stores and paying property taxes to conduct business in a public space, right? But farmers market is somewhat misleading in it. The primary things being sold would be produce from horticultural or canning and things like that, whereas a lot of it is more arts and crafts. And I know Whistler, they have a designated art market, as an example. And you go there and there's art and there's arts and crafts, right? And they also have an enclosed farmers market. But I've never been to that, so I don't know what goes on there in that. But the arts market is, for that community, is distinct, right? So it's not an important matter to me, it's just a curious matter. I mean, I'm going to support whatever here to enable that sort of thing to happen.
Yeah, so through Your Worship, I don't have an answer.
That's fine.
Particularly for that. What we're just trying to mirror what we've seen, and we've had people request. I think it's important that this doesn't open it up for, some of those salespeople that drive through town, stop, and are selling. This is a farmer's market. They belong to or an organization, a group, and that's, how that would be. And we've also reached out to the properties, whether it be the art gallery or the curling club or the arenas, and talked about this before we even, proposed it, brought it forward, and they were all agreeable to this proposal. So, but yeah, as far as the differences there, it's nothing that we had considered.
Yeah, what you say does raise other questions, because in the past there's been some objections to these mobile food areas, but we have that covered off by some other policy, don't we?
That's correct. So that's a mobile food truck or food vendor, and that's covered off through some other
But the
areas.
two should be there at the same time, right?
I believe so, yes.
Because one of the big attractions of the best time we had farmers markets to me was at the co-op in the open, and the real attraction there was some of the food that you could get, right? But then those people, it was too much work and they dropped out of it. And so anyway, they could cohabitate the area, right? Yeah, good.
Thank you. Any more discussion? I'm going to call this question to vote. The vote is closed. It's carried. I didn't want to take another recess, but I'm going to take a quick 5-minute recess. Back to order. And I'm actually going to amend the agenda and go to 16 Committee of the Whole reports and 16.1 report from Staff Sergeant Moffat. Welcome, Sergeant Moffat. Thank you.
All right, thanks. The police report for the month of November 2022. Not much has changed in our staffing levels right now. We are expecting a recruit starting this week with another one coming in January, but they won't be considered a full member until they're completed their 6-month field training. So we're still kind of status quo on where we are at right now. For the crime trend reporting, the total calls for service up to and including November 30th, 2022 is 8,769. This is up from 8,224 calls for service when compared to the same period in 2021, or an increase of approximately 6.6%. Of those 6,991, or 80% of the calls for service within the city of Dawson Creek, and 1,778, or 20% calls for service were within the rural surrounding areas. Comparative to last year for the same time period, this equates to an increase of calls for service within the city of 8.2% and 0.9% for calls for service in the rural area when compared to last year. The following trends have been outlined for the period of January 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022 pertaining to calls for service and proactive investigations. Theft of vehicles, there have been 151 calls for service, where there was 103 calls for service the same time last year, and that's an increase of 46.6%. Theft from vehicle, there's been 123 calls for service, whereas there were 102 calls for service for the same period last year. This is an increase of 20.6%. Break and enter to residents, there were 77 calls for service last year, and there was 77 calls for service where there was also 84 calls for service the same time last year, and this is showing a decrease of 8.3%. Break and enter to businesses, there was 154 calls for service, whereas there were 68 calls for service for the same time period last year, so that's our big increase of 126.5%. Assault with a weapon and aggravated assault, there were 225 calls for service, whereas there were 226 calls for service the same time period last year. This is a decrease of 0.4%. Sexual assault and sexual interference files, there were 42 calls for service, whereas there was 41 calls for service the same time period last year, so this is an increase in 2.4%. Drug possession and drug trafficking, there were 31 calls for service, where there were 52 calls for service the same time period last year, so this is showing a decrease of 40%. Impaired driving, alcohol and drug, including the 24-hour suspensions and immediate roadside prohibitions. There was 141 calls for service, where there were 178 calls for service the same period last year, so a decrease in 20%. Motor vehicle collisions, there was 329 calls for service, where there were 339 calls the same time last year. This is a decrease of 3%. Theft, including shoplifting, there were 472 calls for service, where there were 349 calls for service the same time period last year. This is an increase of 35%. And our mental health calls, there were 531 calls for service, where there were 338 calls for service the same time period last year. So that's showing an increase in 57%. During the month of November, a significant decrease has been noted in property crime, specifically the theft of vehicles. August was the peak of the theft of vehicles for 2022, with 24 reports for the year. And November was reporting 11 incidences. So from August to November, we've seen a decline in that stat. And a downward trend is also being observed right now in our property offenses, which will show a better reflection for the next community poll report. Yeah, and that's pretty much our update right now. What I also would like to advise Mayor and Council on is that as a response to a lot of the increases we have seen in our property crime, Peace Region Crime Reduction Unit has been formed. So that's members from Dawson Creek Detachment, Fort St. John Detachment, working on a specific unit targeting crime reduction in the region, and also partnering just with our friends across the border there in Beaver Lodge and the Western Alberta District that also has a crime reduction unit. So information sharing mostly on those sides and coordinating targets between our communities, because we all know these guys are traveling. So that was just erected, and they started this week was their, last Monday was their first week on the street. So hopefully we'll be seeing lots of results from this unit.
Thank you, Sergeant Moffat, and you shared that with me last week, so it's exciting to see that the RCMP is moving forward, and it's nice to also see that there's some cross-border communication stuff too as well that should help out significantly. So
absolutely,
it's nice to see. So, Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'll try and be quick. 2 questions. I know during the public forum that was held a couple months back, it was noted by the RCMP's representative to members of the public that even if it's not urgent, always still report it, and that there was an online reporting portal tool available to them to do that. Are you seeing the use of this portal tool increase? Is it something that's steadily increasing, or is there more we can be doing to inform the public on its existence? Just because I know you can have the best, most responsive online tool, but if people aren't aware of it.
Yeah, and I can't answer that one honestly right off the top. I do know industry uses it a lot because they're reporting where they haven't been to a site in a few months, and so I know these security industry sites, the gas plants and stuff, they use that reporting tool a lot. I'm not really sure what our general public use of it is, but I'll definitely look into that and report back.
Yeah, and what made me think of it, I was speaking with someone involved in Citizens on Patrol here locally, and he was showing me an app that had been developed by someone, I think, in southern Alberta, but was operational here in the Peace, and it was very, very impressive. So it's, I think these tools are great, and I'd just like to make sure we're doing our part to ensure that citizens are aware of them, because I think information is power. And the more we can do to facilitate that, the better off we'll be. And then secondly, and this is something I asked your predecessor on his way out, and he didn't have much of an answer for me then. The province of British Columbia is moving ahead with the decriminalization of Schedule 1 narcotics up to 2.5 grams, I believe, for personal use as of January 31st, 2023. I had some specific reservations about how that could impact us as a border community when we're 20 minutes away from a place that they're very much still illegal. And I asked at the time what resources were being provided to our local RCMP detachment by the province in order to make this transition as non-turbulent as possible. And he advised at the time there hadn't been much provided, and I was hoping you might be able to give me a different answer, or if there's somebody's door we need to go knock on, because, as I said then, I think if organized criminals within the region, if there's an angle for them to exploit it, they will, and certainly the people who are going to be hurt the most are the ones who are the most vulnerable. So,
yeah, and as for support from the province, nothing has really rolled down yet, other than our education and to educate ourselves on what needs to be done. Specifically speaking, like drugs in vehicles and certain transports, like we can still, and this will be probably a target through our BC Highway Patrol and our members on the road is traffic stops, and especially near the border area. Basically, it's policing as usual. It's just another little roadblock that we gotta learn to work through, right? So I don't know how that's going to roll out yet, to be honest. So yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
At one meeting, I learned that there was some software that was developed in Alberta, maybe Red Deer or Lethbridge, that would enable the RCMP, with the permission of the owners, be able to access their cameras. And that seemed like an awfully good idea from the point of view of increasing your ability to track vehicles or people. So are you aware of that? And what would it take to initiate such a thing in this community?
Yes, I actually just had a conversation, I believe on Thursday, about this. I wasn't aware, there are couple different programs where, just police knowing where the cameras are in town, like businesses register, so we know which cameras they have, what angles. So if we do have a crime specific, we're not redoing what we've already done, how many times canvassing businesses for video. I have never worked with that program before, and I just heard about it, people actually having access to, being able to log in remotely to businesses. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I was intrigued when I heard about it too, because I'm like, how easy, if we had something going on that we could log in and get that pretty much real time. Yeah. I don't know if that's similar to a program that Damon was kind of looking into. It was a registry, and I don't know if the access thing, because I know he looked into it. It's running in Alberta and a couple of the eastern provinces, but there was a lot of challenges through our division. So let me look into that to see if it's the same program, and if not, reaching out to seeing if it's something that we can adopt here.
A guy who I've met so many times, but I'm terrible for names. He's the corporal here. It was who? Yes, Sean. Yeah, I think he mentioned it at a meeting that I think a number of us were at the. Am I correct? Is that meeting? I know Mike was at that meeting.
The cops meeting.
Yeah. Was that the right meeting where the cops meeting? Was that where it was mentioned?
Citizens on Patrol.
Pardon?
The meeting at Citizens on Patrol.
Yeah. So he was the guy who mentioned it.
Maybe that's who I was talking with. Yeah, let me look into that with Alberta and see their program that they have launched.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? I had one question, Sergeant Moffat. Just Councillor All mentioned the COPS program, but is there a bit of an update? I know last week I met, I think is it Jeremy, the sergeant that is dealing with the COPS program?
Oh, Constable Bud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had their meeting on the 14th, and I think they had 11 people sign up. at that. I think some people couldn't make it because of the time of year, Christmas parties and
Yeah.
stuff, because there was about 14 at the previous that were ready to sign up. So I just think it's the timing right now. So hopefully at the next meeting, those people that had were showing a lot of interest will be, and hopefully greater, but that's where that's at right now. And just trying to see who's going to be the lead and like the chair there
Okay.
to keep that going. Yeah.
So it seems like it's moving along.
Very, yes.
The other part too is, as I was talking to, I can't remember who it was. It might have been when Warren was up here, but that the provincial government has started the auxiliary RCMP program again. Have you heard anything about that?
No.
Or talking about starting it again, or?
Well, the auxiliary program, when they reevaluated it a few years ago, there was certain like tiers that the different divisions could enter into for auxiliary programs, and it was basically to do like parade, traffic control, business target like parking lots for like property safety and things of that nature.
Okay.
Not the capacity that those auxiliaries used to be in, patrolling, being on the streets with the members, just for their safety. So there was a lot of interest pulled from it because people want to be doing what they were doing before. And,
Yeah.
And it was really limited in what they could be doing. Just the program was looking out for those people's safety just because of tragic incidents that have happened that caused that review.
Okay.
So it never really went away, but it drastically changed. And I think it's just really detracted from people wanting to continue or volunteer further. I haven't heard anything recently on the program, but I can also look into
Okay.
that.
Yeah, maybe it's something they're revisiting. I'm not too sure. So, Councillor Parslow, you're lit up again.
UBCM again. I attended the presentation on the revisions to the Police Act, and that might be the prompt that you heard. They were really talking about reintroducing. That was one of the recommendations. Auxiliary police, a whole bunch of laddering of different police functions, a real change in the architecture, how policing is done. And that should be coming out pretty soon because it was approved by UBCM, and the committee just reported out at UBCM.
Well, I know the program is invaluable. I used to work downtown Kelowna, and our membership was complemented like 1-for-1 on weekends during the summer when our population doubled, and it was so helpful, right? And these people donating their time, giving up their weekends and being out there with us, it was very impactful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I had just two other things. One, we had Rob from the Mirror was in here this morning giving out awards for People's Choice Awards. I don't know if you could pass it on, but Staff Sergeant Worrell was awarded one. I think it was something to do with outstanding RCMP member of the community. So I just thought I would pass that on. And then the other is, I just wanted to thank you for coming in, and also if you can, give a thank you to all the members, for the commitment they have to our city and doing what's right, and that we wish them, safe and happy holidays. And it's a tough time of year, and I know we've been going through a lot of tough stuff, and we appreciate, their effort and moving forward to get to the finish line on this. So
Yes,
thank you.
no, I definitely will pass that along. They will appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
If
you.
there's no other question, sneaking in there, hey, Councillor.
I
Earl?
just wanted to ask, have any of my colleagues that are new to council taken you guys up on the offer yet to do a ride-along?
Well, as far as I know.
Do it.
I didn't know there was an offer.
Okay, well, there's the option because I did it when I came
Ooh.
on. Yeah.
Come for a visit. I recommend nighttime, though.
Saturday night, 9 to 2 in the morning is when I did it.
Thank you,
Oh,
Councillor. Earl.
and may I mention one more thing?
Yeah, for sure.
I was contacted by ICBC in regards to the theft of vehicles in the community, and they're going to be looking to reach out as well. We're just looking at different strategies on, educating the public on how we can secure vehicles and make things not as wanted. ICBC also was wondering regarding the website for the district, if like putting some of these tips up on there. They're just looking for where things are going to be most seen and read, so media, radio, things like that. So I think it's a good initiative, and they're looking at a couple different like contests and what a need is in the community regarding like steering wheel locks, immobilizers and stuff, and just looking at different partnership options. So it's really good that ICBC is aware and are going to be running some campaigns too, just to target the theft problems for the vehicles in the area. So
thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that would be something that could come to our, or how would that?
I think that's something that would be a natural fit for the website for the city as we work with the RCMP and ICBC. So
that would be wonderful.
Maybe the administrators of what the fuck Dawson Creek.
Councillor Parslow.
You're
on.
There is such a website, isn't there? I believe on.
Yeah. Okay. You got to get on the.
As a parent of a 5-year-old, there's a whole bunch of ways you can swear without actually swearing.
Yeah. Just to get back, Councillor Sudnick, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, I just had a question. Is there any updates on getting those bait cars for the community fixed, repaired? What's the status on those?
Yeah, we're still pushing daily on that. Resources are very limited, so we're looking at options to, we're pushing hard. We just have to get that module fixed. So whether that's getting somebody here or getting that vehicle there, I'm asking and updating every day to get that here, yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to help you with that?
If there is, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right. So we're going to go back to 10 mayor's business. 10.1 it's Doig River. So we set up, and I guess we're invited out to go out and meet with chief and council from Doig and staff. So we went Councillor Apollonio, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Parslow, Councillor Kempf, and myself were able to attend. We went out there, spent a couple hours just really visiting with Chief, is it Macadea, and their council and the staff. And it was some amazing dialogue. It was really educational. On what they're working on and what they're about. And, they're a very innovative group. Like they got a very great culture with their group. Like Councillor Parslow mentioned, they did purchase some property in our area. So, there's a good possibility we'll be working closer with them as a city. So we're very excited about it. It was kind of an initial meet. And in the new year, we might invite them here to meet us and as well. So it was great. It was, wanted to thank them, and we've all talked about it, and it was amazing being out there and learning. So as well, Dawson Creek Charity Society. I just met Sandra the other day. It was a lady who runs this, so I just thought I'd give a quick update. Just to, like a lot of charities and amazing groups in this community that give back, there's so many, but I just happened to run into her for the first time and met her, and she talked a little bit about their charity and what they do, and they're very busy this time of year supporting families that are in need and helping out. So, I just wanted to give a little shout out to them, what they're doing. It was pretty amazing to see, and I've heard a lot about them. It was just the first opportunity I've had to run into them. The Mizpah Transition House, I had the pleasure of being able to attend on, I think it was Thursday. Councillor Earl and Councillor McDonald were there as well. It's just amazing, another amazing organization in our community and what they offer and what they do. And this one has always been close to me, Annette Hogan, who is one of the ladies that works there has been there since day one. And she's been a family friend of ours since we were young. So it was an honor to be there to share their anniversary and celebration. But also there was a little bit of attachment with myself and Annette. So it was just nice to see. And I didn't know that she was there when it started. So her and there was another lady as well that started shortly after that. Were part of the whole 40 years. So it was just amazing to see and what that group does. And also what those two ladies have offered and given their work lives for. So it was amazing to be part of. Another thing, I think on December 6th, I had the opportunity and privilege to go to Central Middle School and speak to their careers class through Amy Barton, who's one of the teachers there. So I got to speak to the grade 9 class. I asked her a few times what she wanted me to talk about, and she said, really, if the students don't care at that point, it's the end of the day, so they just, it's a good excuse that they don't have to do work. So, but it was awesome. I got to go in there. I talked to they wanted to know a bit about my life and business and career. So I got into that with them, talked, a bit about where my career is today and where I sit today. So it was nice just to sit in there with the students and, have some open dialogue about life. So that was awesome. RCMP update, we're all aware that there's, we just had a report from our staff sergeant on, the issues and the increases in the community. We're well aware that there's things going on, and we're working hard to, from our level with the CAO and myself and, everybody. But I just wanted to give a little update on that. Last week, Kevin Blair and myself had an interview with a potential new staff sergeant. I won't give too much more details. It is, seems somewhat official, but it's not official yet. But we had a great interview with a gentleman that there's a good possibility that he'll be relocating up here to be our staff sergeant. So that was nice. And, and nothing against Sergeant Moffat that's here, but her role is to fill in this. So we're excited about the possibility of having somebody permanently here. And this person and their family are very excited about Dawson Creek and this opportunity for them. So all three of us felt very good about the interview afterwards. Next, one of the meetings I've had in the last couple of weeks was with Northern Health. So just one that I wanted to give a little update because they gave me some numbers that I felt were very interesting. So we understand that there's a staff shortage in Northern Health, whether it be nurses or doctors or staff. So this was just some stats they gave me. So as of 2022, there's 157 spots. Nurse spots. I don't know their exact terminology, but of those 157, there was 58 vacancies. So it's a pretty high number of vacancy spots. So this is where they use their other nurses that come in to fill those. But some good news in 2022 is that they had a net gain of 17 nurses over the year before. So what they're doing, and they're well aware of the situation. It's not just here; it's Canada-wide. But they are, on top of some areas, and they're being innovative and attracting new people. And to see a net gain of 17 was kind of nice to see. And they also thank the city for the city and the other organizations in the community that are part of this and helping to retain the medical staff. And there was a bit of a shortage still in doctors. They do have a couple more coming. The shortage that they have is the specialty doctors. Some of them, like an anesthesiologist, it's hard to find doctors that specialize in that. So those are the things they're working on right now, and on how to attract that and how to, maybe get the education for those specialty areas. So, yeah, that is all I had. I just wanted to give a quick update on those. I don't know, before I go to 10.2, has anybody got any questions on any of that? No? All right. 10.2. Oh.
Your worship.
Councillor McDonald?
Very sorry. Northern Health's numbers there of 158 nurses. that is throughout all Northern Health, I assume, from Williams Lake North, or would that be just in our area?
That's just here.
Just in Dawson
So that's
Creek.
including like all of their facilities. So it'd be like Northern Health, the hospital, Rotary Manor, all of their facilities that they're operated in Dawson Creek.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Earl? It's not liking me now.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Sorry. Just to go off what Councillor McDonald said. So I know you said you weren't big on the terminology, but did they give a split between what percentage of those are RNs and how many are LPNs?
No, I didn't ask.
Because okay, I know RNs seem to be the harder to come by and the harder to retain. So.
Yeah, and I know they're working with Northern Lights College. That was part of their gain is on some of that, but I know LPNs are trained there. They're schooling.
Well, locally here we do LPNs, and then so that would be a 2-year nursing program, and then RN is kind of the next step up, and that's a degree. And they I don't know if they've got the program up and running out of Fort St. John. If they have, I don't think they've had any graduating classes, but that was going to be the other complementary piece. Is they were going to be able to train fully certified RNs within the region.
Yeah.
Between Dawson and Fort St. John.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, 10.2. So we had the delegation from Agro Connect in this morning. So I'm just going to bring that back. Is there anybody that would like to make a motion, or is there any? Councillor McDonald.
Sorry, before I make a motion, do we know how much funds we have remaining in our donations, the grant in lieu? For 2022?
Through your worship. So after everything is said and done, at least 6,500.
At least 6,500?
In the 2022.
2022, but this is for 2023. So it would reset to 12,500. Unless I guess we paid it this year for, which we could easily do.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So if I could make a motion.
Go ahead, please.
I propose that we move to sponsor the Agro Connect Conference, February 10th and 11th, 2023, in the amount of $5,000. And furthermore, that we take the funds from the remaining amount in the 2022 donations and economic development account.
I have a seconder. Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion? Did you want to comment on that, Councillor McDonald? Or?
For me, agriculture has been Dawson Creek for many, many years. I fully agree with their interpretation that food sustainability in the north is going to be a huge issue in the coming years. We've seen floods cut off our access to Vancouver and all the major distribution points. Building our ability to be self-sufficient should be a priority in the Peace Country. I agree that it could be a great economic driver for us, and I fully support all things agriculture in our area, honestly.
Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. So just, and maybe Brenda could, or someone give me some clarification on the motion. So the motion Councillor McDonald made, he noted the funds were to come out of the economic development budget, but the ask was for how much was remaining in our grants budget, and they're two separate pots of money, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I understood that the motion was donation / economic development.
Yeah.
Is that what? There. So do we need to just rephrase
Your Worship, we
clarification?
will need to clarify where the funds are coming from.
Councillor McDonald, would you like to clarify what your intent was?
Sorry to clarify the community grant in lieu.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just the only note, I mean, I think it's a great initiative, and I think as far as providing some seed funding for the first year to help get them off the ground, it's a good thing to do. The only thing I did have that left me with a question was the budget of about $250,000 for 225 people to attend is pretty steep as far as a promoter expense, it's about $1,000 a head. I'd be interested. I mean, it's not it's not necessarily our business if we're just a sponsor, but that seems like a pretty high-end event in my experience. So I'd be interested in getting more insight with that. But having said that, I think Councillor McDonald was correct. Agriculture is vital to the region and part of not only our culture, but significant part of our economy. So I hope this event's a success, and I think to that end, I'll be supporting it.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, well, I'm in favour of this, but I had some questions. That, first of all, when we give a grant, do we expect to receive a budget? Or am I getting confused with something where we do expect a budget? There's something that we do as a city with outside groups that we require a budget, and I wondered if it was for these grants.
Through your worship, there's two different ones. One, we enter into leases where our leaseholders will share their financials with us. We also, with the permissive tax exemption, there are a number, but not under the grants portion.
Right. I was wondering about the overall cost as well as Councillor Earl, but presumably people will be paying a registration to attend this, so maybe that's that might be part of the situation. So the question that arises in my mind around the grants, a total grant budget in a year is it 15,000 or 10?
12.
12.
It's around 12,000.
Yeah. So this is nothing to do with this motion, but I just want to raise the issue because it has been discussed before. It's quite often we exhaust our grant money for the year early on in the year, and it's been discussed that should we split it up quarterly so that we have, let's say if it's 12,000, 3,000 a quarter, so people who have some event, let's say in the fall of 2023, we haven't exhausted all our grant money, but by decisions made in, let's say, January, February, March. That's just a reflection that comes up here.
I'm just going to interrupt, just because that's a little off topic from what the actual motion is. So I think we'll just deal with this motion on the floor first. So,
yeah, through your worship, this that discussion could come up in the policy review that's coming up next year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Earl?
And I think it's worth making the distinction that although it's being proposed that we fund it out of a grant budget, they are asking for a sponsorship, which is effectively an advertising buy. So it's not like a donation where we get a charitable tax receipt. We're buying marketing and they send us an invoice. So
might ask that through to staff, but I don't know if you get a donation receipt anyways. As far as CRA related, it doesn't mean much.
Councillor Parslow asking when we give grants if we see financials. In this case, they're asking for a sponsorship. So there's not going to be any obligation in that respect above and beyond the promotional opportunities provided or laid out in the proposal.
Okay. Councillor McDonald.
Bringing up the sponsorship point, with that sponsorship, they give us a table, and I believe it's 225 tables they're hoping to have, not 225 participants. Do we need to suggest to staff that we will desire to have representation there with a table?
Through your worship, it's very clear what comes with our sponsorship or the grant money, however we want to call it, that we're going to provide. So we will be given the opportunity. We will look at it and ensure that if it is a benefit and we're able to do it, we'd participate as a table at that, for sure.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, I might just have Brenda. Could you read back the motion just so we're all clear on what we're voting on, please?
Yes, through your worship, that the, I'll have to get the name of the event again.
AgriCore Connect.
That the Agro Connect event occurring February 10th to 11th be sponsored by the City of Dawson Creek in the amount of $5,000, coming from Community Grants, Grant in Lieu.
Thank you. Okay. Please clear on the motion. More discussion. I'm going to call this question to vote. Vote is closed. I'm sure it was carried, but I didn't. It looked like it was carried?
Yeah.
Carried. Next, 11 CAO operational updates.
Not so much operational, Your Worship. Maybe I'll just, if you would allow me a little latitude, I'll take just a couple of minutes. I know we're running a very short meeting here today, so I thought we would. The next meeting will be ran by Kevin as our new CAO at the city, and I wish Kevin well. I've known Kevin a long time, worked with him for many years. But I want to just take this opportunity to thank a number of people. I want to thank yourselves, as I did earlier today. Working with the different mayors and councils I've had the privilege to work with in different capacities over the years has always been amazing. I've learned from each and every person I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and ideas are amazing. And you're going to love the position you've got yourselves into. And I say that not got yourselves into, but in a positive way. It's the ability to affect change in your community and your region and bring your ideas forward is a gift. And it's something that nobody takes for granted, and it's a privilege. So I've experienced both sides of the elected side and now the administrative side, and both sides are equally as challenging and equally a privilege to serve in both. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thanks to my senior team who sit here with me each and every day. We communicate. They run their departments. Without them, the city would not be what it is. A CAO is only as good as the team he has with him, and I've had the opportunity to work with an incredible team here. I think Kevin would say the same without question. He's had a great experience and brings to the table many years of experience with them. The one thing I did want to say is, as I close out my term here and move on, a lot of hard work has gone into the financial side. This is not a lecture. This is a CAO talking about the hard work and decisions that previous councils have made with regard to PRA. You are going to be challenged with some very difficult decisions. You are going to have many incredible ideas put before you that are good ideas that you're going to want to support, and I won't tell you how, but possibly going to have to say no. It's not unlike running your household or a local business. If you end up buying your groceries on your Visa card, it's time to step back and say, hold it. We better just reevaluate what we're doing. We've made incredible changes over the last 3 years, not without difficulty and not without impacting some services. I think those challenges are still before you, and I know you're up for those, but our fair share that we have, or the Peace River Agreement, as we've strived to go to a 70-30 and we're going to achieve it by 2030, we've set that deadline. It did not go unnoticed how much money we had in our operating budget, not just within the city or the region, but in Victoria as well. And I can tell you the latest committee meeting we had in Victoria was very optimistic in the sense that they're very cautious how they say it, but I welcome the news that they recognize the changes that our city had made. And I thank the elected staff or elected members of council for that, and our staff on working for that. And I will just say thank you to each of you, to each of the staff members I've worked with, our entire city crews. They're out there. It is a privilege, not a right, to work for the city. And when you get that job and the opportunity, it is a wonderful chance to serve the population. And I'll close by saying thank you to the community and the members, not just that live in the city, but outside, as you've said many times, Your Worship. We have these boundaries that we provide services for, but we live and die together here in this region. We are, on this side of the Rocky Mountains, about 63,000 people. They have that in a couple of square blocks down in the Lower Mainland. So we work together. And like I say, it has been an incredible journey I've had. And I thank you, each and every one of you, for it, and the people before I've had the chance to work with. So bit of an operational update, a bit of a stray from that, but thank you all, and I wish you all the best. All right.
Thank you, Blair. And like we mentioned earlier, thank you to what you've done for our whole community. So it's definitely appreciated. So thank you. 12 diary. Is there anything in the diary? No, nothing in the diary. 13 consent calendar. Does anything need to be lifted from the consent calendar? No. Motion to adopt the consent calendar. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor Earl. I'll call that to vote. Vote's closed. It's carried. 14, strategic priority chart. I don't think we have much there. I think in the new year, I'll just give a quick update. The first week in the new year, we do have a strategic planning with the regional district, and Kevin and myself have spoke a little bit about where we see that going. So in the new year, we'll bring something forward to council, maybe have some discussion in council where we want to take that and try and set something for the end of January, beginning of February. Next, media questions. There's no media here. 16's already done. Before I recess to close, I just wanted to, like Blair said about thanking the staff of the city, but just with the holiday season coming up, we just want to have a huge shout out to our team and staff with the whole city, and just to thank you for everything, and to our community as a whole. Just really want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday season. From myself and everybody sitting here, we thank you for putting us up here, and and we really look forward to the future moving forward, and the next 4 years. I'm excited about it, and I know everybody is. So, yeah, thank you. And with that, I'm going to recess to close. Motion. Oh yeah, I need a motion to recess to close. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor McDonald. I'll call that to vote. The vote is closed, and it's carried. We'll take however long we need, 10, and we'll come back into closed.